Okay, I think we're good on YouTube too.
Thank you so. Well, thank you all for being here. We are trying to establish contact with our guest speaker. Thanks for your patience. Hello, Commissioner Donahue. Congrats on your recent election.
Let me do that right now. Hold on.
Thank you. Matt, in the Q&A, Princess has just said that Rev Judy is joining now. If you just joined, we're waiting for our guest speaker to arrive. Thank you for your patience. I will introduce our guest speaker just so we don't have to spend 2 minutes once she does jump on the call. Oh, she's jumped on the call. Hi, nice to see you. Welcome aboard. You good?
Thank you for having us.
Of course. So Reverend Judy Martin runs Inner City. What's the full name? Inner City Collaborative Community Development Corporation.
Hey, you got it right. That's it. That's all our seasoned.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know that you were awarded a violence interruption contract with Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement. I think you already had pre-existing arrangements with OAG and other agencies. So you guys are well known around Ward 1. You're experienced here. We definitely wanted you to, I mean, you can talk a little bit about all of it, just briefly, maybe if you want to, by way of introduction.
Okay.
I think we'd like to focus on the violence interruption component.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of questions and myths about violence interruption and how does it relate with MPD and all of that. And it's a constant source of concern, of course, right, with U Street and the that we represent. So take it away with your Q&A in the last 10 minutes, if you don't mind.
Okay. So would you like me to do it now or at the end of the?
No, we'll take questions at the end. If you want to talk for 5 or 10 minutes, we can do that.
Okay. Yes. Well, as you have already indicated, we were awarded the grant in late January. We got the notification probably just prior to the Christmas holidays that we were going to be awarded just Ward 1. But I was already, as you are aware, we have the Cure the Streets same grant to do violence intervention and community outreach under their initiative for wards 1 and 4. So I have 2 grants that overlap in Ward 1, so that we got twice the manpower, which is a good thing, right? To look at the dynamics in Ward 1. And we just had a really great meeting within the last 2 weeks, because this is the first time where I can say we're actually fully collaborating. The Cure model is working with the ONES model to create, the systemic change that we know we need within the system to have the most impact, to get the best results for what it is that we're trying to accomplish with engaging the young people that we know are the biggest perpetrators. We know it's about 13 people. Well, that we really 6 in one community, 7 in the other community. Our 2 major hotspots are Columbia Heights, and their 2-mile radius, and then we have LaDroit, another smaller community, as you all know, right around the Howard University area, that we're just really getting started. Last year, I was able to be introduced to the community by the ANC commissioner at the time, who introduced me to Matthew, who was getting ready to come on board. And just to kind of start with the case management piece. So we still, with the ONES version, we did get to keep some of our case management capabilities. So we're a little bit unique in how we operate. We do have the outreach team, the VIs, but we also have a lead case manager that's really leading the charge in making sure that when we're navigating services and resources to them, we can actually connect them to that resource. We're not just going to say, hey, here's a telephone number and a name, call this agency. No, we're going to walk you through and work with you until we get the kind of result that we need. These are just not, we're not serving a population where you can just give them the number and expect them to follow up and follow through. We have to put a press on. We have to incentivize them. And use other kinds of, pushes, nudges to get them to do some of the things that we need them to do to move the needle in transforming their lives. So we're not ignorant of that. And then on top of that, we were awarded through the Child and Family Services Agency, because of the high degree of, children and families in crises and the child abuse and neglect cases. We have a cluster-based Columbia Heights Family Success Center. So with those three tools combined, those are huge resources just for Columbia Heights Ward 1 and the LaDroit community that we're able to leverage our relationships and, you know, create partnerships with the various property management organizations, as well as, you know, the ANC commissioners who serve in each one of these communities, so that we can get all of the monies that have been allocated to our communities utilized in the most effective way. So that's pretty, you know, pretty much what we're really doing. We are launching an initiative with the Department of Youth Rehabilitation Services, where we can also provide community-based counseling and therapeutic services. We know that a lot of times they leave the juvenile justice system, they leave DYRS, and they're supposed to follow up with mental health and to do a lot of the things that they're not doing to manage substance abuse or substance use. So with us being a community driver of putting that service like in community, instead of relying upon them to go to MBI or community wellness ventures or go across town, which they're not going to do, because for the most part, they won't leave their community. So we have mobile therapists, for lack of a way of putting it, that will actually be coming in and providing that therapeutic service. So right now, I've been busy going around community, collaborating with churches and other CBOs for space to actually meet, safe spaces where we can actually have those therapeutic, VI, credible messenger type of encounters with them, where they can kind of get that one-stop support that they need right in community. And I do have our team, and you know, that's on the line as well. The program manager, Princess Whitaker, she's here, and the lead case manager, Shamil Harris, who's going to help navigate, you know, case management resources and services and supports. And she supervises the outreach workers who actually work with the VIs. And I'll be personally working with our therapeutic side, building that piece up along with the Columbia Heights Family Success Center. So we're doing a lot in the background to really, and my desire, I was late because I was talking to the mayor's office about it. I met with them on yesterday because everybody's concerned, right? We got to get them to stop flexing and shooting, you know, even just the little random things that they do, even though no one's hurt at that time, someone's going to get hurt, right? And there are people who have been hurt. They're the targeted shootings, which we know is the source of that. And Commander Pulliam and I, you know, we exchange information and we talk to each other, you know, quite a bit on what I know is going on and what he knows is going on. So we share information in that way, because I know that I want to keep the VIs credible and the people that have to be in community with them, because our VIs come from the community. They're no, it's not someone coming in and just getting and meeting them for the first time. These are people that grew up in that same community. They know who the players are. So those are the people that I really trusted, you know, to find out information, share information, as well as stop it. You know, they literally stand people down, get people to stand down instead of retaliating. Columbia Heights is a little bit of a challenge with that. I've been able to had more success in LD lately than I have with Columbia Heights, but both of them have spiked up that activity. So, and there are a lot of things fueling that, but we're aware of it. And like I said, we have our hands and eyes on the 13 that we're really focusing our energy on.
Do you think I can ask you a question right there?
Yes.
Because I mean, I don't need to tell you, there's been a string of firearm related incidents in LaDroit Park. Commissioner Fay can speak very ably to it, but I'm sure you're aware of the details. And so I think it would be helpful for us to understand maybe how you think through responding to that, and what is your communication maybe with the commander, and how do you sort of divide tasks? How do you complement each other's work in response to a specific incident like that, or a string of incidents?
Well, usually we try to, if we hear something, right? If we hear something in the pipeline or through either of our investigating social media, because Reddit and all of the other social media platforms are unfortunately a great source because they're literally publicizing what they're going to do. You know, I have to listen to listen to it on the slow version so that I can understand all of the words and the little idioms that they use to express what they're doing and what those code words mean. So when he's doing a deep dive with that information, we get a lot of that. So usually if a social media video drops, we can almost time it within hours that something is going to occur because of that particular video, because of what it brought up, what some of the language was used, you know, in it, and it specifically pretty much references streets, incidents that occurred in the past. So we'll be able to kind of put it together. Immediately when we see something like that, we try to react to each other by sharing information. He'll usually say, I already have people in the area. You know, are you all outside? You know, so we kind of see who's where, and then try to respond to the situation in terms of if we know who's behind it. Like, you know, a great case in point was the home that was raided recently in LaDroit, where someone had a warrant, I guess, for some illegal activity. Those are the kinds of things. And one of our VIs was actually there and on, you know, pretty much able to filter the information to me, and I'm able to translate things like that. So, but we don't want to just wait until the stuff happens, right? We want to be kind of in the proactive mode. So what we try to do is beforehand, we'll meet and talk about what potential unresolved stuff may be brewing, and it's from across the city, right? So we don't just have CHV and LaDroit, we have other factions or other I guess rival neighborhoods who join with CHV to wreak havoc on LaDroit and vice versa. So so we're watching those kinds of connections as well. So some of that's going on, which is all nonsensical in terms of what it is that they're you know, beefing over, or what these videos erupt in their consciousness. But we're trying to really change that mindset thinking, that this is how you resolve it, this is how you get it. We've been able to enroll, you know, 4 of the individuals who want to change. Major influencer in your community, in our LaDroit community, who has the ability to influence a lot of young people in the wrong way, now wanting to make a change. That's huge. We've been meeting with him over the last couple of weeks. He's agreed to engage in one of the popular pathways programs that the Ones offers. We're trying to do the same thing or something very similar with, you know, those 3 there are 3 individuals that drive the other 4 to do stuff in the Columbia Heights area. They're part of the 7 that we watched there. There's 7 in CHV and 6 in LaDroit that, you know, we really are trying to keep, you know, keep our hands on and keep our eyes on. But that usually is what sparks it, Miguel, that the energy behind bringing up some past death, or some video that shows the desecration of you know, someone's grave, for example. Those kinds of things get circulated, and it just brings it all back to the surface. You know, unresolved murders. You know, in one instance where the murder took place a couple years ago, the individual responsible is locked up, but his family is still in community, right? And they can't get to him, so they want to get to the community. It's crazy. But so it's those kinds of things that we got to work on the individual to get their mindset. around it, and in some cases it's working, because I think they are tired, really, because you can't kill off everybody. You can't just shoot your way out of this. There are innocent people, being killed, being hurt, being harmed. The trauma is real, for the communities. When we got a grandmother who's saying, Reverend Judy, get me out of this neighborhood. I just want to move. I can't, I'm running for, with my 10-year-old granddaughter. Those are the kinds of stories that make me work harder to try to figure out, how do I get to the heart and soul of that person? So that because change is an inside job, right? If I can get them to stop picking up the gun in the first place, but the first question always becomes, well, if I stop doing that, what are you going to put in my hand to replace the gun? I'm going to give you some tools that are going to keep you alive for the rest of your life, and hopefully your life means something to you. And in a lot of cases, well, I gotta show them that their life does matter. They don't really think a lot of themselves when you really get into them, and and then layer it on with the drugs. It really, you really have a recipe for self-destruction. So as we start to peel back some of this stuff, and offer more opportunity for them to change, and show them the pathway out, right? The pathway to making a better life for themselves. And caring, you gotta, if this is your community, I need you to care about it, but care about it enough not to destroy it, right? And you can be a meaningful, participant in community without shooting people or shooting up the alley and things like that. So just kind of giving them real options that make sense for where they are. So we want to bring some of that. We had them up in the office a couple of days ago to sort of say, well, what is it that you want to do? What do you like that I can support you in doing? Because you won't go to school. I can't get you, to go to bed early enough to get in a vocational program yet. So getting them to the point where we can kind of slow walk them to some of those things, and in the meantime keep them from doing negative things is a challenge.
Sure.
But they have a good relationship with the two people that work closest with them, and he's been able to get them to stop a lot of stuff. We just got to get them to stop a lot more stuff. And as soon as we get this one resolved or kind of in check, there's someone else willing to take their place. And so it's a constant, nope, that's not what we're doing anymore.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Fay, go ahead.
Yeah, so Reverend Judy, good to see you again. Thank you for being here tonight.
Absolutely.
LaDroit Park appreciates your hard work, and one of the things that I say regularly is that you were really just able to start digging into the LaDroit Park community in January. So, I know this takes time because it is so relationship based. I think most of the commissioners and folks in the line are aware that a lot of the LaDroit Park activity is around the Kelly Miller residences in LaDroit Park, which is a DC Housing Authority facility. I've had a number of conversations with their president of the Residents Association, who is wonderful and also incredibly concerned for her community at Kelly Miller. What kind of support are you getting? What kind of partnership are you seeing from DC Housing Authority? Or is that an area that you're still finding not as much support as you'd like to find?
Not as much support as we'd like, but when I met with the deputy mayor yesterday, we had a very lengthy meeting, a couple hours meeting with her, where she said, where can I help you? And certainly DC Housing Authority, getting the spaces cleaned, getting the basketball court, there are just some things that DPR can do to improve the conditions. We talked about WASA coming out and making more visible that building where it looks like they were using that as some kind of little shootout area where they could hide behind.
Yep.
So things like that we know that they can do. I appreciate the cameras because the cameras are helping us, right? When we want to hold people in community accountable. So they can't just lie to us. And if they really want us to help them, then you got to stand down. You got to stop the foolishness. You can't, show your hand and then run and hide. And, and the cameras have helped us hold a few of the young people accountable, who's had some adverse behavior. And because we were able to identify them, we've been able to link them to resources. So that the cameras help, the little videos, that certainly helps our intervention and mediation, and we can actually start to negotiate with them and the families around do you know, simple questions like, do you know where your children are, because these are not always older teenagers. These are younger, unfortunately, younger and younger.
I know there are other questions. I'm happy to hear that you met with Deputy Mayor Appia, and I'm looking forward to her update on the plan. And I know we're all working to get a community meeting in Ledroit Park. So thank you for your hard work.
Yes.
Thank you. Next up was Commissioner Harris.
Hi, Reverend Judy. Thank you so much for
Hi.
your work. It's incredibly important. I just have two questions. One, are you only serving Columbia Heights and Ledroit Park, or are there other parts of Ward 1 that you're also serving?
Yes, there are other parts. We have 10 communities in Ward 1. Columbia Heights and Ledroit just seem to be, where the most targeted effort has been because of the high incidence of incidents that's taking place in those communities. But we have 10. We have Adams Morgan, we have Brightwood Park, Petworth, we have the other right off of Georgia Avenue, New Hampshire. We have 11th and O in Pleasant Plains. We have
Are serving 14th and V by chance?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. That's in our community as well.
Yeah. That has certainly been a pretty big hotspot. And I'd love to talk to you more. I realize that it's a sensitive area, but it is certainly, it's been a really big hotspot. I used to live in the building above the Busboys and Poets, and there were frequent bullet holes. And then I do know that one of my friends, someone who I befriended over time, he was shot and killed a couple of years ago. So would love to talk more. I just am very familiar with the community over there and have become friends with folks. So really appreciate your work. My last question, and I'll make this quick. But will Councilmember Pinto's legislation, Peace DC, and unifying both DC's violence interruption programs, will it be a disruption to your work, or will it help create kind of more cohesion?
I think it is my prayer, Commissioner Harris, that it will create more cohesion. It is difficult because our strategies are a little bit different. And really, I was prayerful that I would get this award because I believe seeing is doing, right? And if I could show them that the models could work if they work together, they would be more effective. Even though in the 10 sites that the Cure was operating out of, their numbers were consistently going down, but they had a much smaller demographic and geographic area that they were covering. But unlike in my territory, I had Ward 1 and 4. So we didn't have enough manpower. So the idea that I was able to get awarded the grant through the one's office really enhanced my ability to see more and expand, because we could only have 8 people under the Cure model. Well, with the 8 people that I'm now able to have under the one's model, that's 16. So we can actually cover more territory in more of those communities. So I think it's going to bring some cohesion. I think there needs to be a single version or copy of what it is that we're trying to do, because there's some competing priorities from this side versus that side. And I think we'll all, the mayor just wants the noise to stop, the shooting to stop, the violence, to stop. And I think if we get it to one agency being held accountable, I think we can accomplish a lot with the right leadership.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Commissioner Kensick.
Yeah, hi, Reverend Judy. How are you doing tonight?
I'm well. How are you? I'm well.
I'm hanging in. I'm glad you
know.
took the time to talk to us tonight. Love the glasses, by the
Absolutely.
way.
Thank you.
So recently, in the last 3 months, we've had like 4 or 5 shootings at Howard University, in the College Hall South, located on the 400 block of W. It's become to the point where we're looking to get bulletproof glass windows. The students are shook up. I'm implementing a couple ideas to help work with the police department, Howard Police Department, and also the MPD, which is I don't want to say what we're doing because I don't want it to be out there, but it's going to be able
Right.
to have airspace immediately, and be able to track down some of these individuals that are doing it, because it is really a hot spot. So I just appreciate everything you're doing, and if you can keep that in mind, about 400th block in W in general, alongside with what the other commissioners have stated, that would be really helpful. Thank you for everything you do, and God
All right.
bless. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Commissioner Barrio.
Hi, Reverend Judy.
Bye.
Francois. I'm Commissioner for 1B02, and I'm the chair of the Public Safety Committee. I just want to thank you for joining us. And, one thing that the committee has been considering is how can we better support our youth, because we know that, we do want to support our youth and have them have successful life outcomes and avoid, falling into a cycle of violence. And one of the things we're considering is providing grants or other support and advocating for out of school time programs so that youth are, have mentors, that they are engaged outside of school hours and they're not getting into trouble, especially if, say, their parents aren't home. And so I guess my question is, do you have recommendations for how we can best help the youth that are most at risk so that those programs really are helping the kids who need those programs the most? And then also, how can the ANC more generally support your work?
Well, the Department of Youth Rehabilitation, or DYRS, Rehabilitation Services, has a program called Credible Messenger. And that's actually one of my premier grants that our agency also has. And one of the things that we call our biggest tool in our toolbox is relentless engagement. And while we get adjudicated youth, we also work with the community, right? During the COVID pandemic, the mayor was, really challenged with when the youth were able to actually come outside, how to connect them to resources and supports, especially during that first summer after the pandemic was over. It was just a major, it showed up: mental health, trauma, all of the things from being closed in, on top of the lack of, support during the video conferencing that they had to endure during school. I think if we could have more out of school time mentors that are on the ground during the summer, right? Working hand to hand, especially in the high risk communities, because if the kids just have to get in trouble to get assigned a mentor, then we're doing this wrong, right? Every kid in DC that wants a mentor, every time a mother comes to court social services at DC Superior Court and says, look, my child is not going to school, they're not doing this, they're a constant runaway. There was a heated expansion in the initiative to kind of go after and support and work with those kids. And they got the numbers down, but that was because there was a big push on assigning mentors, not just in the community, but with those that are in child welfare. I'm proud to say that our organization was one of the pilot organizations that worked with CFSA to get those children, right? To get those young people that they weren't in trouble, but they were committed to the child welfare system because someone neglected them. So we found a whole cadre of young people that really just needed to be connected to a human body that cared enough about them to
Mhm.
make sure they had enough to eat, that they were going to school, that they had uniforms. So there is still a significant population of young people that are not in juvenile justice yet. But if we don't catch them before they fall, so we've really been advocating, trying to go to the schools to look at how we can leverage our resources here. And my mentors tell me that I work them all the time, because if I see a connection or a point where we can get in and save a child who had his jacket taken on the subway, and now there's a grandmother that's wheelchair bound who's raising that young man, how can we, so we become that community mentor. But we do need money and funding to support those kinds of efforts, especially when we have young people who can't go to school in their community because of a safety issue. So there's that piece of it as well. And then of course the old thing, I'm just bored. It's the summertime, it's spring break. And because I'm bored, I'm going to get into trouble. So we try to plan a lot of activities and events to take them out and expose them to things that they wouldn't ordinarily get an opportunity to do, even if it means transporting them to the recreation center, setting it up that's across town so that they can take advantage of swimming and some other activity that they may not have in their community, but we can transport them to go to that community, bring them back safely. And we always give them something. I never leave a child without a meal. So we always break bread with them before I return them home. So that is what I really would like to champion for the summer and the out of school time, is that every child should be connected that wants a mentor. We ought to have a comprehensive mentorship program in the city.
Interesting. Yeah. Thank you. That's definitely something I think we could discuss more. And I'd love to invite you to our next public safety committee meeting
Okay.
to speak. So I'll reach out separately, but thank you
Okay. All right.
for joining us.
Absolutely.
Final question before we move on to the formal commission meeting. It's from a community member in the chat. I'll read it out. It's a mouthful. It could go in a lot of directions. So
Okay.
do with it what you will. And if we want to connect afterward, we're happy to share contact information.
Okay.
It's from Jeremiah Young, who says, "This type of effort is criticized sometimes with doubts about its effectiveness, and I haven't been able to determine for myself whether this is a fair accusation or not. I'm sure you can point to many individual examples of incidents in which these efforts have made a difference, but I'm wondering what you're doing from a larger perspective to collect data to track outcomes or investigations/interventions to show that this approach deserves to receive continued resources. Anything you can share or direct us to? I understand how difficult it is to extract larger trends from intensely personal and individual experiences, though."
Yes. We know that a lot of our work is data driven, right? Because I'm awarded a grant based on the data that shows up on the radar that says we have a high concentration of crime being committed in these communities. So the data does count, and it does impact how we get funded. So we track those successful outcomes, which is part of why I'm hopeful that the merger into one version of the VI initiative in the community is going to be finally put in place, because I think it'll allow us to be consistent in how we track that data. We know that the Office of Gun Violence Prevention and Building Blocks DC, they did a great job of where the shootings occurred, but the follow-up and the follow-through piece is where we are, at the community level, where we can be the most effective, because there are mediations and ceasefires that don't make the data, right? Don't make anybody's data compilation, and they should, because we can really tell you in real time what kind of impact that this individual, through this engagement over our 6-month period, what it has stopped, and which means how many lives, how many murders have been averted, how many lives have been saved, because we literally changed the trajectory of that young man or that young woman's life, because young women are the fastest growing sector of this whole crime wave that we're experiencing, especially with young people. So if we can get to that one version of an organization, we can consolidate a lot of the data. We can also minimize some overlap, and we'll be able to more accurately assess our effectiveness. The Nick Jr. initiative, National Institute for Juvenile Justice Reform, helps organizations like mine build capacity, right, to do just what Jeremiah's question is to track data, to look at what our programming, and as we're building this model inner city, is how is this going to create that justice village that we're all talking about, to put a framework around the work that the VIs and the outreach workers and the case managers do every day on a daily basis, and how we can actually, not only just monetize the effort, but to also track the data, because we know that the data is what determines the dollar, value associated with it. But the most valuable commodity that we're negotiating right now is human lives. And it's human lives, the ones that are being lost and the ones that are, are afraid to move around in community because of the violence. So the motivation to get it under control is huge, is really huge. And I think the mayor recognizes it. I know Chairperson Pinto does, and she really has worked really hard on the peace plan for DC. And as does, so many of the other council members as well. So we definitely want to see that kind of change, and that would help the impact on, I think, what the effectiveness of our program model.
Reverend Judy, thank you for this. I hope we can be close friends and have you back again. And there are many more questions. So please reach out as you. And of course, I'm Commissioner Fay connected you with U.S. Attorney's Office, asked for your contact, so you have an email putting you in touch to explore ways to collaborate.
Okay.
Keep us posted.
All right, awesome. Thank you guys for having us.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
All right. I call this meeting to order at 7:15 p.m. Secretary Fay, would you do the favor of calling the roll?
Chair Trindade Duramo.
Present.
Vice Chair Harris.
Present.
Commissioner Berrio.
Present.
Commissioner Sycamore.
Here.
Commissioner Lemon-Strauss. He is not back yet. Okay. Commissioner Kensick.
Present.
Commissioner Holden.
Here.
Commissioner Hanrahan.
Here.
And Commissioner Fay is here. All right, we have quorum.
Fabulous. Approval of the agenda. We have a 50-page agenda packet for the first time. It is a world record. Thank you, Commissioner Fay. Thank you, Raisa, who's not here with us tonight, but plenty of work went into collating that monster. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
I move that we approve tonight's agenda.
Don't we have to say something at the end? I remember last meeting I missed the cow meeting, but I watched it back and I thought there's a new saying we have to add in.
That's in the minutes.
Got it. Okay, I'll check the minutes.
The magical formula will appear. Hold on. All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The agenda is approved. And now on to the approval of the prior meeting minutes. Do I hear a well-crafted magical formula for approving the meeting minutes? Commissioner Fay, maybe it needs to be you. Do you have it written there? Oh, he doesn't have the email pulled up.
I don't have the email pulled up, but I can get it in just a moment if I need to.
It would be a motion to approve the minutes with leave for the secretary to make clerical amendments.
Chair, you can make that motion.
So moved.
I second it.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The prior meeting minutes from March are approved. Thank you very much. We will do committee reports in a moment. First, I wanted to hog the floor for a quick second for a couple remarks with leave from the body, please. I am super happy we had Reverend Judy here today. We do have two representatives from the MPD joining us in the agency, district agencies section coming up to answer any questions. Obviously, there's been a lot of concern about a string of recent violent incidents, as was alluded to in the guest speaker section. I'm very grateful for Commissioners Fay and Barrio in particular. You have already been establishing relationships with MPD, with the Deputy Mayor of Public Safety and Justice, predating these incidents. It's nice to have those relationships warming up just in time to deal with unfortunate incidents like this. So thank you. Thank you for participating in the forum at Lincoln Theater. We're going to hear a readout about that in a few minutes. So really commendable. Thank you so much for laying that groundwork. And I did want to mention and shower with praise as usual, Karen Lee and Raisa Singh, our outreach and administrative consultants. I looked back at some of the goals that we set as a commission in January, a lot of them to do with transparency of the commission's operations. I think we're achieving a good number of them. We've instituted the Committee of the Whole, which meets always 1 week before the commission, which allows commissioners to collaborate in a bit more relaxed environment. I hope everyone has found it useful. It's really nice to just have a preview of what's coming up, work with each other, answer questions so that we don't take up quite so much time in these meetings. And the website is up and running. And if you may have noticed that our commission newsletter has a new look and feel, that's all due to Raisa. Very proud of that. And we are ensuring that there are previews of each committee's agendas in each newsletter so that community members are more aware when matters relevant to them are about to come up. It's been a big priority of mine to make sure that we're putting out as much information to the community as possible, as far in advance as possible, so that no one's caught off guard by something that was decided and they didn't know it was going to be discussed. So very happy with all that. Thank you to our two consultants. You are the backbone. You are rapidly becoming the backbone of this commission, as someone recently said to me, which makes me very happy. That is it for me. Thank you for hearing me out. Committee reports, which we are rotating. So Commissioner Kenzik, I hope you're not caught off guard. You're first in the agenda for zoning preservation and development. The floor is yours.
Oh, great. Thank you. Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry. All right. So we met recently at our most recent. There was 2 action items that I had listed on the agenda. One of which was taken care of, which was the 1922 9th Street. We were able to get HPRB to the table, the architect, the owner, some people in the audience, Frank Showman. Everyone seemed to be happy. New renderings were put in, so that's not anything we have to have or vote on tonight. And they also voted on the 27th, and they did include everything that everyone was asking for. So that's good to report. That's 50% of our reports completed. The other action item we have, which we do have to vote on tonight, is we had case number 2, David and Myra Karen Kasmarek. They're looking to basically conceptual design and review for project to combine 2-row houses into one, construct a rare 2-story with cellar addition. And this is in Commissioner Barrio's single member district. What the recommendation of the committee was after looking at everything is that they were in favor, and we are here to hopefully get your support in that as well. So that's it. That's my report.
Thank you. Any questions for the commissioner? Actually, I'll ask one. If you don't mind my putting you on the spot, I should have let you know in advance. I apologize. How are you and your committee thinking about the 1111 V Street, the building collapse, and the DOB conversations? Are they coming to speak?
Yeah, well, DOB has been very tight-lipped, to say it politically correct. We do have on our next agenda, which I was going to announce after these questions and the vote, that we have DOB coming to just basically introduce themselves and what they're going to be doing. It's not really a point or question to ask them at that point, about the 11th Street incident, only because I want to bring them to the table and keeping that correspondence alive so that we could hopefully have them at our actual next between next one, or I don't know what the agenda is for next month, but have them come as a guest speaker to speak upon that. There's been a lot of quietness, let's just say that, since the incident, and it's been well over, I think, 118 or 19 days now. So, we haven't had much movement other than that. But they are coming to the table to talk about what they do and how their interactions are and how they would be working with us as a committee.
Okay, thank you. Keep in touch. The guest speakers are coalescing for the next couple of months, so I want to make sure we save time for that when appropriate. Anything else for Commissioner Kensick? Okie doke. It is ABCR up next.
Good evening, everybody. Commissioner Hanrahan, Chair of the ABCR Committee, reporting to you live. We had a pretty busy ABCR Committee meeting last Tuesday, not even that long ago. We discussed, there were a couple of different renewals that we discussed, and most of them got we kind of passed without a vote of action. They are included in the minutes for all the agenda for all those who have that in front of them right now. And I just had that up in front of me. Here we go. They're Minya's Pizza, Izakaya Seki, Congressional Club Museum, Black Cat, Rooster and Owl, and Lulu's Wine Garden all had license renewals that the committee did not recommend to protest against, and we fielded the other commissioners also asked them, and they did not raise any flags. So this is good to know. I think then we had two no action items, and so that was where the tabs are? Here we go. We had two no action items, and that was we are keeping, oh, I'm sorry. One was for oh no, I am sorry. Here we go. No action items. We voted to support the substantial change in license to the Lincoln Theater. This Lincoln Theater is a neighborhood institution of the arts on U Street, and they have a request to change their hours of operation to 12 a.m. to 12 p.m. effectively for all hours of operation. Jean was on the call on the ABCR committee and can respond that this was kind of gives them like the flexibility to book for different events during the day, even in and on the weekends. Sometimes they do like Sunday church, and so this kind of gives them the flexibility to do so. The alcohol license information is also available. Here it's Sunday through Thursday, 6 a.m. to 2 a.m., Friday and Saturday, 6 a.m. to 3 a.m. And the committee voted to support their change in license. And then we had we have new business previews. We continue to look like we have a motion for the Lounge U settlement agreement for a new business on 1911 U Street Northwest that we've had lots of back and forth with and lots of status hearings and mediation hearings. So we're excited that this looks like we're finally at the finish line for this. And then we had two motions to protest. One, a license for a substantial change for the Ace Lounge on 17 7th Street Northwest, and then for a new business on 1351 U Street Northwest, new application. So we have the motions there in the new business section, but that is the update. Commissioner Holden.
Yeah, so I see the motions for the protests in the packet, but you said the committee supported the change in license for the Lincoln Theater. Shouldn't we be voting on whether the ANC supports changes also?
No, we don't need to vote on that. It can just go through without any recognition for support. The ABCR or ABCA would basically only recognize if we would protest or not, but we don't need to vote to support the license. It'll just go through.
I guess I'm worried about a situation where the committee would make a recommendation to support, but that would be at odds with the ANC commissioners. Like, what if we don't support it?
But I think any commissioner can raise a motion to protest. But I will say, since this is in my SMD, I do not support a protest here.
I don't support a protest either, but it's just a point of process.
Yeah,
I think if we're voting on protests and basically all actions that come out of the committees, I think we should vote on.
The Commissioner Hanrahan has started providing this list of the licenses that were reviewed by the commission and no action was taken, which we actually hadn't printed in the past in the packet for exactly this reason, so that commissioners can see which ones were supported or technically not protested, right? And if the commission wants to take action, it can. I think if we want to talk about the procedural aspect of that, let's talk about it in the committee of the whole.
So I would like to bring that up at the committee of the whole, just because I think I want to be applying things consistently.
Okay, I'm taking it down right now.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anything else for Commissioner Hanrahan?
Thank you for your note, Commissioner Holden.
Okay. The Committee on Community Engagement, Commissioner Sycamore.
Good morning, everyone. How are you? Yeah, I know it's not morning. But hi, commissioners and community members. This will be very quick. We still have a little bit of growing pains here that we're doing with the community engagement. We still have a couple of hiccups that we're trying to work through. I'm working through with Risa and Chair Trinidad DeRamo. So those are things that we are still working on. We still don't have anything quite on the books yet. We have things in the queue that have not been able to formalize them as of yet. So hopefully be on the lookout. It should be within this next week. Hopefully we can all get our schedules in sync and we can do that pretty effectively. Not to step on Commissioner Barrio's toes, but I did also go to the community safety meeting, the U Street Task Force, which was very informative, very engaging. And I look forward to engaging more with that once Commissioner Barrio comes in. The Vermont Avenue Spring Garden Party is coming up. Woo! April 26th. So if you're able to make that, get a little dirty in the gardens. We would love to see you there. I will be there despite it being my partner's birthday. You'll have to suffer through a little bit in the morning. And then we have some more things coming up in the pipeline. Like I said, our next committee meeting will be on April 15th at 6 p.m. We also have one more applicant, which I still have to review to join our committee. So if you'd like to join our committee, please make sure you submit an application, and I will be getting to that hopefully tomorrow. So I have finally some time to work on those emails on top of everything else that's going on. One small comment for everyone. Just in general, one thing I've been noticing talking to community members is giving each other grace and some time and some space. We are going through quite a bit of a hard time right now, not only here in DC, but our country. So giving people some grace and some space to kind of process some of their feelings and emotions on these issues. A lot of people have lost their jobs. So just make sure you are kind to your neighbors. You never know what they're going through. So just as a quick reminder. Other than that, I yield the floor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for that kind reminder. That's very true. It does say at the bottom of every newsletter we send out, help a neighbor in need. So let's carry that ethos forward with us. And also wanted to thank Max for lending you to the Vermont Avenue Gardens program. My mom is coming to town for a visit for her birthday, and we are going to do a Malcolm X Meridian Hill Park cleanup. So bless the people in our lives who support our community work. With that, economic development, please, Commissioner Fay.
And Karen, if you can promote Patrick Smith from the Deputy Mayor for Economic Planning and Development to also share part of this update. My dad is visiting this week, and we have the Lidroit Park cleanup on Saturday. So it does seem like it is a family affair across the board. Two updates from economic development. We held our second public hearing on the Neighborhood Management Authority bill that had been submitted by Councilmember Nato's office. Good discussion. We used the meeting to review, formalize, confirm all of the questions that we had heard from the community. We will be finalizing a kind of a position on the bill. And then presenting that to this kind of full group as we get into the next month. Thanks to our chair, we have been collaborating very closely with ANC 1E and also 1A, so that we are all trying to kind of keep our conversations connected and aligned. At this point, really what we've got are a lot of very, very thoughtful, detailed questions. And David Meny, who I know is here on behalf of the council member, was excellent in answering a lot of those questions in our first public hearing. The community came back and said, yep, we've got those questions still. We know that David is working with the council member on them. There was also an opportunity for folks who have been leading a bid effort to be able to kind of continue to answer questions that the community raised about a bid, and in particular, what a bid could potentially look like on the U Street corridor. So it's been actually, I think, a really good educational opportunity for the community, but also an opportunity for good dialogue. Sorry, I forgot to turn the timer on for myself. And so that was all good. So you'll get more details on that shortly, and look forward to talking to you about it. The second item that came up, and this kind of intersects a little bit with Commissioner Barrio's work on public safety, the T Street Task Force. There is a vacant property, a triangle property directly in front of the Howard Theater that the commission in its prior term had submitted support for the creation of a dog park on that space. A letter was received by the champion for that dog park, Parker Griffin, who lives in the area. He's actually a 2G resident, stating that the DPR was not going to approve the dog park, and that DEMPED was going to focus on activating the space through a kind of a market sort of situation, farmer's market. Patrick Smith, who I was recently acquainted to thanks to a series of email introductions last week, is here to share an update. I've got a couple of questions for him, and others may as well. So Patrick, if you can give us an update on DEMPED's activities to activate that space, would be much appreciated.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, good evening, commissioners. I'm Patrick Smith. I'm the development manager who was handed 625 T Street upon the former development manager, Mark Corneal's retirement from the district service. And thank you all for your service, especially for volunteer positions that are elected. So with that, so 625 T Street, I'm going to share my screen real quick. So we did have DGS go out. This is the condition of 625 T Street as of 2 p.m. this afternoon. When I stopped by and took pictures, you can see that it is crashed.
We can't actually see your screen. You may have to hit the green share button at the bottom.
Share, okay. There
you go. Looks like you're coming up now.
7 years old. I call the technology issue. Okay. So this is 625 T Street as of 2 p.m. this afternoon. DGS is coming by about approximately once a week to make sure trash is taken up off the site. And as of April 7th, it is, as of April 3rd, the fence has been, DPR is installing this fence. It's in fabrication currently, and installation is slated to start on April 7th, although that may be pushed back a day or two depending on weather conditions, and be completed within 10 days. So the fence will go all the way around the site. There are two gates, a 4-foot gate and an 8-foot gate, both of which correspond to the curb cuts that are there currently. So DPR is putting the fence up shortly. I don't think I have any more pictures unless you want to see me dressed as a llama dancing tango. With that, so the dog park was rejected by DPR on the grounds it is too small for a dog park. The letter went into that. It said that is the primary, well, it didn't say that's the primary reason, but that is the main reason when talking to Brent Cisco. Brent Cisco is the DPR capital projects manager. And as far as the farmer's market goes, the Alton McDougall, the person standing up the farmer's market, has just recently notified DEMPED that he is no longer pursuing a license and has withdrawn from consideration. So going forward, the plan is that after DPR completes the fence, DPR will be responsible for programming the space. So it will actually fall, I believe, under your Parks and Development, your Parks and Public Space Committee after going forward. Questions?
Yeah, really quickly, and Francois, I see your hand up. This item came to the commission agenda before going to economic development, which is just fine, right? Because we want to make sure that everybody is up to date and getting the information. Patrick, do you mind taking down your screen? So what you're saying is that DemPed is relinquishing control of the property, transferring it to DPR. So DPR will now have control of it. It will be a public park, but it will not be a dog park. Is that essentially what you're saying?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay. And so with the gates going up, and you may be aware that this particular stretch is probably one of the most dangerous in all of 1B, and is frequented by lots of illicit activities. Are the gates going to be permanently locked? Is it going to be open? What is the what's the plan? Or is that really a question for DPR at this point?
That would be a question for DPR at this point, but let me get back to you on that. Is that okay?
Yep.
We discuss with DPR and find out. It's going to be, by the way, it's a 60-inch fence. It's not a chain link fence. It's going to be a quite substantial and, from what I saw of the design, an attractive fence.
Okay.
It's a vertical slat fence.
Okay.
Metal.
Thanks. Commissioner Barrio.
Yeah, thank you for coming, Patrick. I guess I have two questions. The first, I guess, is I don't think the answer about why the dog park was rejected is sufficient. I'm curious, why is it too small? Why was this not happening faster? There is a dog park at 17th and S that is, I'm pretty sure, the same size. It is very small, and that has been in the community for a very long time. So I really want to understand why this decision was made. And then I have a follow-up question after that.
Okay, I would have to have Brent Cisco join us at a meeting for that. It is DPR that made that decision, not DemPed. I actually was relaying this information that I received from the letter myself.
Okay, we can work on that. I guess the second question I have is, why has it taken so long for DemPed to relinquish this land? Because it has sat fallow for years. And I guess this is a serious problem, right? We have a major piece of land in our community that could have been serving a useful purpose for years, and we're never going to get those years back. So I really want to hear from you. How can we change the processes that the city government is using to use this land? Because that's a failure.
Okay, I thank you for that feedback. I'm not sure I'm prepared to negotiate how the city can change its processes on land disposition at this time. So I do know part of the problem was that I have just, again, taken over this project. The property was previously licensed to another user, and that license expired, I believe, sometime during COVID, and then COVID caused issues with, it may have been renewed. I'd have to get exact dates for when the license was expired or terminated and what events were surrounding it, because again, I did just take it over, but it was previously licensed to someone else that had promised to activate it.
Got it. I hear you. I understand you might have just taken over this project, but I really want us to think about how can we use land faster, and DemPed has controlled this land even if there was a previous user. My understanding has been for a very long time now. So, hopefully we can avoid a repeat of this where there is land that's just not being used, that's, sort of being trashed for a long time.
I mean, Commissioner Barrio, I may take that a step further, which is what I'm taking away from this conversation is that nothing is going to be done with this land still.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So all that's happening is that DemPed is handing it over to DPR. No one knows what they're going to do with it. It's going to have a fence, which helps. It's still one of the most dangerous intersections in the city. We've got rampant drug use and drug sales in the area. Now we've got a park. So it would be good, right, to get more information on this. And I'd say, Commissioner Holden, this will transition out of economic development as DemPed hands over the land and it'll go to DPR. But I'd say working with the DPR folks would, I think everybody here would benefit from getting those answers.
We're looking for items for our May agenda, so.
There we go. Commissioner Barrio, did that cover your questions? We'll move to Commissioner Sycamore. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, Commissioner Barrio, I couldn't have said it better myself. I echo exactly 100% what he was saying, and also with Commissioner Fay. Just one quick question, I guess a comment. So this is a permanent fence, is that correct?
Yes, this is a permanent fence.
Okay, just making sure. So DEMP just decided they just wanted to give this up to DPR, and that's correct? Just give it up. For what reason exactly? I don't even, can you give me just a little bit more as to the reason behind that?
Well, I was not part of the initial discussions. Again, I did just take this over. The person who was handling this retired. I do know that it was a long discussion about the best way in which to utilize this property, as it's really too small for economic development for the deputy mayor. It's not a site we can really, it's not really the size we would normally deal with on our portfolio. It is the size of something that DPR will often deal with as far as pocket parks go. So I believe, but I would have to get back to you. I believe it was because it was best suited for DPR to manage and program than for our agency that doesn't do programming and management of small open spaces.
Yeah, no, it's just, and I hear you. It's just very frustrating because the community has spoken. We've had lengthy discussions about this, and we're trying to improve the community. And now it just seems like that DEMPED is just passing the buck, and it's getting very frustrating. And our community is very frustrated. The T Street Task Force is frustrated. The businesses there are suffering as a result of this. I'm getting a lot of that from the U Street task force meeting that I just went to, talking about that area in particular. It's time to start taking action, and I'm not sure how you can work with DPR on this, but we need to take action, and it should have happened yesterday. We need to get on this really quick. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
David Meny from the council member's office.
Hey, just want to chime in really quick here. I don't want to answer on behalf of an agency, but I will say to the earlier question from, I think, Commissioner Barrio about the dog park decision. I don't believe that was something that was made arbitrarily. There is a regulatory standard on the minimum guidelines for dog parks. We've dealt with this, a little further north up in Columbia Heights. That they are not supposed to be any less than 5,000 square feet. And I'm pretty confident this site is a good deal smaller than that.
1,928 feet.
I'm sorry?
1,928 feet.
Okay, yes. So I just want to say, like, I don't believe that it was a decision made arbitrarily by DPR. But I will just say a little off the cuff here, but Patrick, this is not directed at you, but I do sort of share the commissioner's frustrations here about the underutilization of this site. And it does seem like, while this is more progress than we've made in some time, it's still pretty uncertain what is going to happen there. And I will even say, and I see Frank's hand up in the attendees, so hopefully I don't steal his shine here, but putting a fence around it was not, originally intended in the small area plan for this area. It was meant to be a really activated corner space. The renderings are still out there. The planning is still there. And I know that the intent there has never really been changed. So, I think our office would definitely like to follow up on this and happy to partner with the ANC on it. But thank you.
David, I have a quick question for you. Does the council
yeah.
member does the council member possibly have any plans to bring up legislation to reduce the size of the dog park requirements? Is that within the jurisdiction of the council?
I mean, the short answer is yes, it would be within council's jurisdiction. We would have to discuss at a separate time whether that's the best idea, because I do think like DPR's guidelines are fairly well thought out. I wish I knew less about this, but I've worked quite a bit on the 11th and Park site. And so there are legitimate reasons for that. But happy to talk about that.
Yeah, I would love to.
Look, I mean, I think this is something the community has been focusing on for a long time. This is, whoever said it, is probably one of the first big moves. There was a discussion at one point or another that it was going to become an electric vehicle charging station right in front of the Howard Theater, which was a terrible idea. And now we're talking about a park, right? So I think there probably is a question, Patrick, of whether or not moving forward quickly to put up a 60-inch fence that's not part of the small area plan is the right move right now. And then I think it does make sense for Commissioner Holden to do a real handoff with you and DPR to say, where does this go? And David Meny, you've got a good sense of the small area plan, as does Frank Chauvin. Maybe bringing those perspectives to bear would be a good idea. Commissioner, sorry, Chair Trindade, I cut you off though. I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead. You can take the community questions.
Okay. Do you mind fielding them? I can't see the names with the timer.
I do not mind. Frank Chauvin.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for taking my question or comment. There was a committee, a public space committee, organized for this review of the dog park by DPR. And the public space committee recommended to approve the dog park. So it was this decision was done at the top level of either DPR or DEMPED, and not to allow a dog park because there are even though there's a 5,000 square footage requirement in the regs, it does say exceptions can be made, and we know there's exceptions made all over the district. And I believe, I'm not sure how much bigger DuPont Dog Park is, but that's one of the exceptions, as my understanding. So, there's some questions outstanding, and I'm looking forward to that discussion at a pending meeting. But also, I appreciate the commissioners' understanding and quoting and invoking the small area plan, the Duke plan, that's now 20 years old. We don't often refer to it, and it often is said to be outdated, but there's still a lot of good stuff in there. And whatever we can do as a community and on the committees that we work on your behalf, on the community's behalf, I'd appreciate continuing to work to understand the small area plans. But thank you for all your efforts here. Appreciate it.
Okay, great. Who's next?
And Jean Hamza, please.
Yeah, hi. Sorry. First of all, Patrick, thank you so very much for joining the non-U Street Task Force meeting earlier today, where you spoke briefly about this. But I think I would just like to say that I hope DMPED is not walking away from this. You're turning it over to DPR, but I hope you're not walking away from it. As everyone else is saying, it needs to be activated. It's something we've looked at, we're talking about. I feel like you just walked into this massive issue. Who knew such a tiny little corner would be an issue? But it is because of everything else that's going on that block. So I hope you won't walk away from us, is what I think I'd like to say, and that you will continue to be at the U Street Task Force meetings, because it's not just about that corner, it's about that block. Yeah. It's about the next block. And it's about looking at the community and not just that little corner. So that's what I really want to say is don't walk away from us, please.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Jean, I think that's right on. And I think one of the things I would just add is that this agenda item, just maybe to explain, was supposed to go to committee first. And we made a tweak to the agenda, thinking that this was going to be a very basic update. We thought that what we were going to hear was DMPED had contracted with a farmer's market to come in and provide services to activate, right? So that was where we were starting off thinking things were going to go. It's turned into obviously a much more thorough discussion. We are going to, this is going to get taken up by Commissioner Holden and now the Parks Group. I'm going to stay involved in it as it relates to the handover from DMPED, so I'll join that next meeting. But from a community perspective, for all of those of you who are listening and participating and have interest, this is not the last conversation we're going to have. We're definitely going to be rolling up our sleeves and digging into this further.
And as Commissioner Harris can say, I am available to anyone from the commissioners of ANC 1B. I may not always have the answer you want, but I do respond and I do enjoy being part of the community there when I am able to attend. Although I've not been attending as frequently as I used to, but I do plan on doing more so. And just to respond very quickly to Mr. Chauvin, DenPed was not involved in the decision of DPR. I received a letter when you did with their response. I did not know anything of their deliberations.
Thank you. Commissioner Kensing, the world's quickest follow-up, if you would, please.
Yeah, of course. I just want to say, Patrick, don't walk away. Run away.
Yeah. Not helpful.
But a very quick comment as requested. Thank you. Commissioner Fay, is that it for your committee report?
That's it.
Thank you. Public Safety, Commissioner Barrio, please.
Yes, of course. And thank you again to Patrick for joining us. I think we definitely want to, partner with DenPed in the future and try to figure out how to use this space and other spaces that will come up. And hopefully the ANC can be a constructive part of that. Yeah. Speaking for public safety, I want to first say that I also attended the Nightlife Task Force meeting, and it was very helpful to hear from city agencies. Definitely still a lot of work to be done, and I just want to express that we did hear from a lot of businesses that are struggling right now in the area. Considering shutting down, don't have enough patrons. There's a lot of concerns about public safety in the area, and that is maybe contributing. I shouldn't say maybe, it definitely is contributing to part of why businesses are struggling. Yeah, so at our public safety committee meeting, we heard from Johnny Bailey from HIPS as a guest speaker, which was great. He discussed how HIPS, their work as a community-based harm reduction and outreach organization, and that they, the services they provide, such as needle exchange, Narcan training, de-escalation, and really connecting people to other services like housing programs through the city, like drug treatment, things like that. So they really are a connector in that sense. HIPS is hoping to build a new center in our area. The details are still unclear. It seems like that's more an idea than a specific plan right now. But it would focus on harm reduction and connecting drug users to treatment and other services as a dedicated space. Since right now, HIPS is doing meetings through the library and things like that, but they don't have the full center that they want. One big takeaway too is that it's really important, like we heard from about the violence interruption program from Reverend Judy, is that bringing services to the people that need them rather than asking them to go across town for them is important. And so that's definitely something we got to keep in mind. But there's definitely going to be community concerns, which are valid. And so, we'll continue to monitor and discuss this. We also discussed the U.S. Attorney. The U.S. Attorney attended the 3D CAC meeting at Martin and spoke with the community. He was receptive to criticism. And, he says that he's been much more aggressive with prosecuting gun crime, specifically by bringing the gun crime cases to district court, where they're more likely to achieve a conviction, as well as they're more likely to achieve a conviction, as well as secure harsher penalties. So that is something that the U.S. Attorney has been focused on. Obviously, there are concerns about the U.S. Attorney that the Public Safety Committee is discussing, and we expect to bring a resolution hopefully at the next ANC meeting about this. We're also studying safe passage, as well as providing grants to out-of-school time programs to support youth in the area. So those things are ongoing. We're continuing to work on how can we best do that. And our next meeting is on next Tuesday. So that's just a 3-week turnaround, but hopefully after that, we'll be on a set schedule. So yeah, those are my updates.
You can control your own floor time if you want to take the question. Commissioner Sycamore.
Thank you. Less of a question, more of a comment. So I was also at the U Street Nightlife meeting, and I'm not sure if other commissioners also felt the same way, but I felt like this was quite a condescending meeting. I do want to thank Jean for bringing people together, but there was one person, Deputy Mayor, I cannot remember her name, but it was very condescending, and I felt very it's not my problem kind of attitude, and it really frustrated me. One of the responses that I got was Apaya. Yes, I believe so. But it was just very much like, well, I have the whole district to worry about. I can't worry about this. And when I'm asking a question very specifically about our area, that is a meeting about our area, and I get a thing, well, it's not really, I can't really focus on this. That was so dismissive, and I got very frustrated with this meeting. I would love to see if we can get more people accountable for this. I tried to hand out my card to every single person on that stage. I tried to hand it out to every single person I've not in the businesses. I've heard from a lot of the businesses. I've not heard gotten a single email or gotten any sort of response from anybody on that stage, which is really frustrating, as we are the people here who are the closest to our constituents, and they're not listening to us. So I'd love to engage more with them, and I'm sure Commissioner Barrio could probably work on that together. That's all I have to say about that. And thank you again, Gene.
Yeah, thanks for that comment, and definitely thank you to Gene for bringing us together. I think it was an important first step, definitely, and it was really nice to be in person at the at the Lincoln Theater, directly interfacing with the deputy mayor and the agencies. So I think that was a really valuable opportunity that Gene gave us, and definitely it's a first step. So there's going to be a lot more work to do.
Gene's hand is up, in fact, so we'll take your question or comment right now.
Yeah, hi. Again, just wanted to let you all know that I did get an email from Deputy Mayor Apaya, and she's the Deputy Mayor of Public Safety and Justice. And she says that she's talked to Chief Smith, DDOT, and to Deputy Mayor Albert about some of our concerns. And some of the actionable items she is working on will be arranging a walk at night during nightlife hours with relevant partners to look at the issues like poor lighting between the Shaw Howard Metro and U Street. So she's looking at doing a walk. I don't have any more information on that, but that she's working on it. She's also, I guess, with DDOT talk and the agency that deals with share riders about potential pedestrian drop-off zones on you, ways to mitigate impact by street closures because some of the businesses had problems with that, and also ways to mitigate the impact by the parking issues, which is one of the things that I really had hoped we'd focus mostly on, are the street parties that are going on. So I was actually surprised to get an email because don't usually hear back from government, but so I felt pretty good about where she was listening to at least the problems the businesses were bringing to the table. All right, thanks.
And this is kind of emphasizing my point is you may have heard from her, but nobody else has. And that's the problem that I'm having is that, again, we're the people that are the closest to our constituents and we are not getting involved. And that's what's the most frustrating problem.
Commissioner Sycamore, I reached out.
Yes.
I sent her an email thanking her for coming.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I misunderstood.
But no, she responded to me. And she responded. I mean, I'm going to out you, Matt. Matt was also on the email because he responded to her and CC'd me. So, it's just, this was a meeting. Ideally was supposed, I wish more businesses had been there, but honestly, if more had been there, then we wouldn't have had the time to hear what everybody had to say. Problem with these kind of meetings is there's generally a long introduction by the government entities. They may not all need to be at the table, but they don't know that until they have the meeting. So I thought it was really kind of risky of them to, I'm not aware of anyone ever having a meeting with the businesses like this before. And it's not to say they don't get with the Nightlife Association and the Restaurant Association, but just trying to sit down with the community of businesses. It's not to say it hasn't happened. I know it has, but I'm just not aware. So I think if she's going to look at these things, what we're trying to do is mitigate the summer nightmare that's coming as soon as it gets hot and the street parties happen. So please, if you've got ideas, a way to stop that, because it's hurting business. It's not helping our businesses. So that's what the meeting was about. I hope there'll be follow-up. We do have World Pride that's going to kind of take everyone's attention away, from us, certainly. It's, we're going to have a few weeks of who knows what's going to happen and where it's going to happen. And so we got to get past that. But I do hope we'll hear something before that starts in May. All right. And please email me. You got questions, that I can follow up with or whatever. But, I do appreciate the ANC support, and especially those of you that have businesses and you talk to them and ask them to come out and, please develop relationships with them. It's really hard. I'll be the first one to admit that. It's hard. These people are, running a business. And so they're hard to nail down. When are they going to be there? They're there. They're put down a fire, metaphorically. So I just encourage you when you can, to go in and meet them. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Final comment, Commissioner Harris.
Sorry, just a quick question, and it's a mix for Jean and for Commissioner Holden. Jean, I know you mentioned about potential like pickup zones, like I guess for Lyft or Uber or any other, I guess, rideshare service. Maybe this is something, and maybe you already have it planned, Commissioner Holden, but that can be discussed in transportation. I know that it would be really valuable on U Street, but also potentially create a bit of confusion or hecticness, but I, as one of the commissioners who represents part of U Street, I'd be interested in talking more about that and hopefully alleviate some of the traffic issues on U Street.
We can certainly have it as a future item. One thing I was thinking about potentially for the May item or May agenda is talking about the performance parking U Street stuff. So we could maybe fold pick up, drop off along in the area into that discussion, since they are related to each other.
Okay. Commissioner Barrio, anything else for your report? Thank you, sir. And finally, Committee on Transportation, Parks, and Public Space. Now finally getting utility out of those two new components.
Yeah, we haven't done that yet. So we'll have two agenda items later. So we'll talk about those then. We had a discussion about the Vehicular Noise Reduction Act of 2025. The committee felt they didn't have enough information to vote on it. There's no hearing or anything scheduled yet, so we kind of tabled it for the future. But James Nance from Pinto's office was there, gave us some good stuff to think about. The other item was a official response from DDOT from a ANC resolution from last term. This was a request for a safety study on the 1900 block of 8th Street, and specifically conversion to one-way. Previously, there had been a request to turn the street one-way just during drop-off, pick-up and drop-off for the school on the block, but that was denied because DDOT doesn't really do that anymore. They think it causes more confusion than actually solves problems, just having the one way for temporary times of day. So this was an ask to make it permanently one way, as well as a request for some additional signage banning trucks over 1.25 ton capacity and increasing the lighting in the area. What they've responded with for the one way is they've submitted it into the traffic safety input program, where all traffic safety investigations are put into this model. They're prioritized and looked at on a regular basis. So the request for one way will be part of that process. And if it scores high enough in the priority model, then they'll look at it. So we can follow up as that goes through that process. They did do an investigation and found that there wasn't enough signage for the no through trucks. So they're adding that. and they increased lighting levels. With the streetlights, they can kind of adjust their brightness and things like that. So they did adjust the lighting levels to improve that issue. So some things out of it. The one way is still pending. So that's that. I think one quick last thing is, I haven't set this up yet, but I want to set up a kind of like public tracking sheet. We get a lot of, NOIs or different issues that like TPPS might be addressing or talking about. And I think like if we had like one document, like an Excel or something that was publicly accessible that had, we sent this letter, DDOT had the response, what was the response, like so everyone can kind of see it all in one place, would be helpful for the committee, commissioners, and the community. So we're working on getting that set up. And that's it. Oh, there's no TPPS meeting in April. It's scheduled next week. I'm going to be at a transportation conference. So in a way, aren't I still having the meeting? So canceled for this month because we had no hard deadlines like an NOI or something that would, need to be considered. So the next meeting will be in May.
Thank you. Any questions for Commissioner Holden? Seeing none, we can move on. David Menny's all teed up already from the Office of the Council Member. Floor is yours.
Hey, everyone. Okay, 5 minutes. Well, I normally would be worried about filling up too much time. I think my updates are tragically short today. And if this makes any sense, I'm unfortunately very well rested. I say that because council was prepared to receive the mayor's budget submission yesterday. Unfortunately, due to sort of the budget affairs on the Hill and some other matters that's had to be delayed, we're still waiting to hear when the updated dates are. But I suppose that's my first update, which is that you may have seen schedules go out about council's budget oversight hearings, which would be starting next week, including a couple for Councilmember Nadeau's committee. I would just tell everyone to consider those dates sort of null and void until further notice, until we know exactly when we'll be getting the mayor's budget. But yeah, more broadly, we're waiting on the House for the final DC budget fix to pass what the Senate had moved previously. The hope is that they'll vote next week on that, which would mean we'd have the final budget late April. But that's a continually evolving story. So, I think folks can look to the council members website and many other places for updates on that. But other updates I can share. I feel like we've heard a lot about cleanups at this meeting, which is great. And I can say more about that because we are in Earth Month. And the council member is very excited about getting out in the field and working with neighbors on neighborhood cleanups. And we're definitely encouraging Ward 1 neighbors and organizations to help host them, particularly on Saturday, April 26th, which is also the same day the Anacostia Watershed Society is doing their cleanups, to protect the Anacostia watershed. Please reach out to our office, either me or folks in our main office, and we can help coordinate with DPW to request cleanup supplies, and the council member is happy to support and publicize any other neighborhood cleanups. So we'd love to help be a central resource for that, especially for the ones that are already planned. Next, Brianna on your block, the council member's community office hours is going to be Tuesday, April 8th, from 6 to 8 p.m. It'll be at Los Hermanos on Park Road in Columbia Heights. And we'll also be joined by our Shadow Senator, Ankit Jain. If anyone has questions or thoughts for him, he'll be there along with the council member. I guess some comments on the president's executive order from March 27th. the position has been generally that it sets out things that DC is already doing, and calls on some federal agencies to do federal things on federal land, and does call for collaboration between the federal government and DC agencies. So a lot of it is what happens routinely. I know the story is much larger than that. I think the council member shares a lot of anger and frustration that's been expressed by constituents and more broadly. And she said repeatedly recently, DC is already a great city. Millions of people are visiting, moving, living, and working here. The district's still growing faster than any state in the country. There's we're going to keep doing a lot of the good stuff that we're doing. As I had mentioned earlier, a lot of this is a developing story. So if constituents or commissioners have questions, please feel free to reach out to our office for any other insight. So that, I believe, is all I have for this month, but happy to answer some questions. I see some hands.
Thank you. Quick question on the cleanups. I've tried to learn this before, but I'm still not clear when can we ask for help from DPR? When is it the Office of the Clean City? How do we think about getting support for block
That's
cleanup?
a good question. I would say reach out to our office and we will help coordinate, because there's a little bit of confusion about Department of Public Works and the Mayor's Office of Clean City, which is under the Executive Office of the Mayor. There's a little bit of overlap there. So rather than having other people have to sort out the confusion, we're happy to assist.
Sure. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Sycamore.
Thanks, Dave. David, I'm sorry. Really appreciate all that. So you can add another cleanup to your list. This Saturday, starting at 9 o'clock, we in my SMD we are doing a alley cleanup. It's the little triangle that's on W, Florida, and 10th Street. So that little triangle right there, we're doing a nice little cleanup there. We actually all reached out to different district agencies and we got this all coordinated through them. So they've been very helpful. It was actually more of a community effort than it was me. I was just CC'd on some emails and it was a really nice little effort. So yeah, if you guys want to show up and make some face, and you're more than welcome. I'm sure they would love to see the council member and yourself.
Thanks, Commissioner.
And Commissioner Harris.
Hey, David. Thanks for joining us. I just have a question on, and I don't know if you have an answer to this. I was just wondering about any reasoning behind Councilmember Nadeau's support on limiting the open meetings, so the closed meetings that council will now have, and just why she supported that emergency legislation.
Sure. Thank you for the question. So just for those who are joining who may not know what Commissioner Harris is talking about, this Tuesday, Council voted on legislation making some updates and clarifications to what's referred to as the Open Meetings Act. So there's quite a bit that could go into on that, but I guess I will say that the intent behind that legislation is to address some interpretations of the law that were not originally intended. I mean, I will just speak as a staffer who's around in the building a lot. I've been in some circumstances where I'm in an elevator and the wrong combination of council members gets into that elevator that constitutes a quorum of a committee, and that elevator is in violation of the Open Meetings Act under a broad interpretation. So that's a little bit of a silly example, but the intent with the legislation that Chairman Mendelson put forward is not to have any new behind closed doors meetings where decisions are being made. That is the exact express purpose of the Open Meetings Act. So this is not about secret votes or anything like that. But it is to do such things as making sure that the council can coordinate on advocacy on the Hill, for instance?
Okay, I mean, I would say it's just like pretty disappointing to see that. You know, we expect as even as ANCs, we expect that kind of transparency. And you know, I think, you know, I was happy to see that Councilmember Allen and Councilmember Lewis George opposed this. But it was very disappointed to see my council member support this when, yeah, it's a very easy thing. And we're seeing kind of a lot of closed doors things and terrible mix ups and terrible usage of communication on the federal side. And then to see this by our own council was very kind of out of left field and again, disappointing.
No, thank you for that. I will say that Councilmember Nadeau only took that vote conditional on there being a public hearing on the permanent legislation that the chairman introduced as soon as possible, which he did ultimately agree to. And I believe that notice, if it hasn't gone out today, it will very shortly. Because I mean, you're right, this is not something to take lightly, and public transparency is critically important, especially now.
Any further questions for the
Does
council?
that law apply to us as ANCs, or is that just for the council? I wasn't made aware of it.
The temporary measures, I believe, only apply to council, although the conversations did include how some similar clarifications can be made to other bodies.
Thank you for that.
Mhm.
No further questions. We can turn to Mokers, and we have special guest Stephanie this month. Go ahead, take yourself off mute. The floor is yours.
Everyone.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Hi, my name is Stephanie Advincula, and as you may know, I'm the Ward 1 Liaison Moker. We are in rotation. Anthony is now attending the meetings I used to attend, and now I am attending the meetings he is attending, so we are always able to communicate and meet all the commissioners. The announcements that I have for today are also touching the spring cleaning as well. I've heard a lot of that tonight. The mayor is also having her 8th annual spring cleaning that is taking place on Saturday, April 19th, at 10 o'clock on all 8 ward. So Ward 1 location will be at the Columbia Heights Dog Park at 3320 11th Street Northwest. And we also have some flyers. I can possibly send that if you didn't already receive that. I can resend that as well. I also wanted to touch base in regards to some grants from the district bridges. That's something that I've been pitching with the other ANC as well in regards to a lot of businesses. I know that funding and things of that nature is kind of been hard, and it's been an issue for certain businesses all throughout the ward. So right now, DIMPAD has some grants that are currently open, and it will be closing on April 14. I can also send the link to that as well, but I can speak upon it in regards to that. Let me see. There's the Great Street Retail Grant for the small businesses. That is one grant. The second one that businesses are also able to apply is the manufacturer grant. And then the third one is also the emerging retail grant. So these are 3 different grants. Businesses are able to apply to all 3. But given that the time for some, if the information was not already given, you can focus on just the one that applies to you, just for the time's sake, because I know the time's sake. Just because I know that it might be a lengthy, there's some questions that you might have to answer, but the application is not hard to do, but there are some questions that they are required to fill out and that information is needed. And I've also been connecting businesses with district bridges. Paco is a point of contact that businesses can reach out if they do need assistance with the application. They have been working with a lot of businesses. But so far right now, that is the announcement that I have for grants and businesses. One more final announcement that I can say from the mayor's office is that we do have the DC Emancipation Day coming up on April 13th, and that will be on Freedom Plaza. It's a parade and it's also a concert, and it's free for the community. Everyone is welcome to come, and there is a registration link there. Everyone can sign up. It's supposed to start from 2 up until 9:00 p.m. And yes.
Thank you. The business grant applications, are those all listed in one place, or do they each have their own?
So I'm glad you actually asked that. So it's under DIMPAD's website, and under grant opportunity, it should pop up. But when I know I've been to the link up a couple times, and they normally list all the grants under that one page. But I can send you the direct link to those application. But they all should be there under DIMPAD's website.
Okay, I see. Great Streets, Emerging Retail. Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, or you can go directly into Great Street's website, and that will take you specifically to that one grant that's needed. So,
And you think a
yes.
business owner could pull it together and submit it in 10 days?
Yes, I believe so, because like the director said, she did mention that they try to work with the application process so it wouldn't be too hard, too complicated to fill out, but there are certain information that it is needed. They might be repetitive, but it's just certain things that has to be filled out, but it shouldn't be hard. And most of the requirements and things that you need are probably businesses are probably already have, such as like your license, clean hands, and things of that nature. But the clean hand is one of the main aspect that has to be in good standard for the grant application. That's probably the hardest part of the application, based of my knowledge or what I was told.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Okay, seeing none.
Thank you guys so much for being so responsive and letting us know anything that goes on in our SMDs. It's really appreciated.
You are very welcome. And I'm glad you actually brought that up, because I do find it more, I hope it's helpful to you guys. Once we hear or have anything, we do try to contact and inform everyone. If it happened in your SMD, we try to just send it out as a whole to everyone, because it does affect everyone versus just that one SMD. So I hope that is helpful for everyone. And if email is the best way to form a contact for you, please let me know. Or if text messaging or call is one, also let me know, because I'm able to, do whichever way works for you.
Yeah, definitely second that. Thank you. Those are the little bulletins are helpful.
You're welcome.
All right. On that note, thank you again, Stephanie. In district agencies section, we have invited representatives from MPD's 3rd district to join us tonight. I believe they're both on the line. Captain Murphy, Lieutenant Wheeler. Karen, can we allow to talk or promote to panelists, whatever device you're preferring to use? Thank you. I see Captain Murphy. And it's Leslie Wheeler. Oh, I can do it too. There we go.
Hey.
Cool. Captain,
How are you?
Lieutenant, nice to have you.
Hi. Good. Is Lieutenant Leslie Wheeler on the line too?
Yep. Should be able to unmute. Might have stepped away.
You're
Gonna fly solo for a few minutes and say, oh, there we go.
Go. Can you see? There we go.
Thank you both. Thank you for the quick turnaround on the invitation to speak today as well. I don't know if you have anything you want to say right off the bat, or if you just want to do Q&A. We invited you here because of, again, the recent string of incidents, both at Howard and in LaDroit Park, that have been concerning all of us. We are aware, and Reverend Judy mentioned it before, that there's an effort between MPD and the Deputy Mayor for Public Safety and Justice to sort of do some kind of bespoke safety plan, especially to address the CHV LaDroit violence. So you guys let me know. Do you want to speak first? Do you want to take questions right off the bat?
I'll go ahead and speak a little bit, and then I only have a little bit, and then I'll take questions after that. First, I'd like to thank you all for having me here this evening. The Metropolitan Police Department, 3rd District, we are aware of you all's concerns and frustrations regarding the recent activity. So far, over the last month, we've produced 542 arrests in a month. That's for firearms, narcotics, robberies, burglaries, thefts, and also quality of life crimes. Throughout the process, we've had great support from our community members, Housing Authority Police, Howard University Police, and they've assisted us by providing live videos and aiding us in solving some of these crimes. So, does you all have any questions?
I do. Yep. Sorry. I was trying to stop a timer and unmute myself at the same time.
Okay.
So yeah, I think the first question is, and maybe just kind of a starting point, we've been working very, very closely with you all and your team, Commander Pulliam, in LaDroit Park, right? So we appreciate you all. We have got a very seamless channel at this point. That videos flow to you almost instantly. I don't even get involved. They know exactly who to get them to. And so we're trying to work hard with you. I'd reached out to our Deputy Mayor for Public Safety over the weekend. I know that she was convening a group that I'm hoping included MPD. And we're looking forward to having the community come together with you all, Reverend Judy, and the Deputy Mayor, to get an update. But just wanted to kind of get your sense as to how that plan was coming together, whether you felt that you had the cooperation and participation that you needed as you were kind of putting all those pieces in kind of working order.
Okay. I'll defer to Captain Murphy for that one.
Yes, hi. Hello, everyone. So the plan is going great. We have seen an increase in visibility in the area. And so what we have implemented is now we have officers, we have overtime available for officers 24/7, like which is in 3-2 day work, evenings and midnights. And those officers are to stay in the area of LaDroit Park, also in CHV. And they're doing face-to-face relief, so that way there's no gap in between the relief. So we always have presence in the area. The last shooting that occurred was the sounds of gunshot on the 28th on a 200 block of W Street, where we had several video footage from the citizens in the area where we can observe a black Infiniti and 2 suspects getting out of the vehicle and shooting firearms in the area, but it did not struck anybody. It was no injuries, but as you can see on the video footage, we had officers in the area as well that observed the incident. And as soon as the incident happened, the vehicle fled. We got right on it. We called Falcon, which is our helicopter, to be visible in the area to canvass for the vehicle. The vehicle did fled on us, but we have a detective currently investigating the case right now. But just to reiterate that, we have officers visible in the area. So whatever they were trying to do, they weren't able to do it because we have officers available in the area. So we're going to continue to work, like Lieutenant Wesley said, with Housing Authority and Howard University Police as well. We're going to continue to maintain police presence in the area. We also continue to work with outside resources as far as our VCSD and plainclothes unit. Yesterday at CHV, we had our plainclothes units conduct an execution of search warrant inside the CHV in the 13th block Columbia, where they went into our house. So what we're doing is we also have live feed where we're following these individuals and social media as well. So a lot of times they would post social media and they were showing handguns in social media. So what we do is when we see the social media, we quickly trying to find out what location they are, what apartment they are, like, you know, so look, so we're trying to get into it. So once we find out the area that they're doing these live feed videos, we get search warrant and we try to go into the house. So yesterday we was able to conduct an operation over there. We did not make any arrests, but we did retrieve several rounds of high capacity magazines and also ammunition in that apartment as well. So we're going to continue to do search warrant in that area as well. So those are the plans that we are doing, and we're going to continue to keep working on it until we get a handle of the situation.
Thank you. We appreciate all of that.
Commissioner Kendrick.
Yeah, thanks, Captain Murphy. I appreciate that update, and also your due diligence on this matter. I've noticed the uptick in terms of you guys having more of a presence there with the gray marked cars, and the only thing I could say is that going by, and I actually park right at the Bethune garage there, so I see them there. I think that after a while, people just kind of become numb to it. Like anything else, like we park a vehicle, an allied vehicle, in front of the Twin Towers there, east and west. And everyone knows no one's sitting in the car, just the green lights are floating. So I think that it would maybe switching it up a little bit, 10 feet down, because they're in the same spots every night. At least when I go past them every night when I drive home. But overall, though, I have to say I commend you because students were getting robbed there for a while for jackets, and it's changed. And there's also something I'm trying to work on with the lighting there to get like cool white lights to help brighten up the area in general. So when it's dark at night, but again, thank you for everything you're doing. Just if you guys maybe want to switch around the vehicle a little bit, so they're not. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate
No,
you.
that's actually a great point, and I did point that out to my officials. I was like, look, we cannot park the same vehicle in the same area all the time. We want to kind of switch it up, so they don't know too much of our patterns. So so we don't want to create that. So yeah, that's definitely a good point that I did point out to the officers.
Further questions? All right, seeing none. Thank you both for taking the time. Lieutenant's already moving on to the next. I appreciate it very much, especially like I said, at last minute notice. Appreciate it. Glad we could hear from you guys and from Reverend Judy and get a few different perspectives on what's going on.
I'm sorry I missed that. Was there another question?
You good? No, that was it.
Okay.
Thank you both so much.
All right. Thank you.
Commissioner announcements. Any commissioners wishing to take the floor? Commissioner Hanrahan, go ahead.
I forgot to mention at the ABCUR updates, but next, the 16th is Emancipation Day, so we will plan to meet on April 22nd, and I will send out, I think I sent out an email to the committee members, but I'll send it out again.
Thank you so much. Karen, I'm sure you jotted that down for updating the website. Commissioner Fay, go ahead.
Yeah, real quick, just want to let everyone know or remind them that the LaDroit Park Historic Home and Garden Tour is on Saturday, April 26th. Would love to have everybody here. Would love to host you. It's going to be in the newsletter with all the additional details coming out next week. But just wanted to do a quick shout out. Thanks.
Thank you. Seeing no more, any community members wishing to make announcements? Can raise your hand. Seeing none, we can move on to administrative section. Any executive officers with reports to make? Gotta know. In fact, I have one item left over I forgot to mention before. I did invite at the last committee of the whole meeting, I did invite all commissioners to schedule one-on-one meetings with me to talk about your goals, how we can support you, how you're getting on, how committees are flowing. Just a quarterly touch base. I've done 2 already. I have 1.5 scheduled. So if you haven't signed up yet, the link is in your email. Would love to chat about how it's going, little progress check-in, and again, how I can offer more support to your individual projects and your committee projects as well. And that is it for me. We have a treasurer's item. I believe Treasurer Lemonstrauss hasn't come back. So
let me text him right now and see if we can circle back to it.
okay, I think we can also handle it on our own, but I would much prefer. So please, thank you. While that's going on, we'll move into new business. I believe the SMD item is Commissioner Barrio, financial support for the street banners. Floor is yours.
Yes, let me pull up my language here. But as many of you know, we're hoping to support efforts alongside ANC 1E to purchase light post banners for the Shaw area. Very pretty. We would be reusing the pre-existing designs. And just like it's important, I think, for our community, for aesthetics, for making people want to come here, and generating a sense of togetherness and place and identity. So, for all those reasons, and because it's nice. I move that, and tell me if I'm doing this wrong, Miguel, but I move that ANC 1B purchase light post banners from Michael Cosia in the amount of $1,123.60 and pay for installation in the amount of $500 in partnership with ANC 1E.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Second.
All right, we open debate on the motion. And just to clarify there, Commissioner Barrio, that it's an up to $500 on the installation. I think we're still expecting a more precise quote, right?
Yes, that was just the language that ANC 1E had used, but we may not spend the full 500. So
okay, happy to take questions or points of debate. There's a hand up. It's Mr. Canepa, who I think is from the Atlantic Plumbing Condo Board. Is that correct? If you want to take yourself off mute, you should be able to now.
Yeah, this is Bernard Canepa. I've been leading the charge on getting these banners replaced for 2 years now, dealing with JBG. Finally got the artwork. They have the cost to actually install these banners is $1,700 because they need a truck with a bucket. I think that's the safest way to remove the old banners and install them. So I think that might be a cost. Well, I asked them to get a different proposal or lower the proposal, and so yeah, it's gonna. The cost is a little surprising. It's already what $2,000 to or $2,500 to even print the banners. So it's definitely costs are a little higher than expected. So I just wanted to raise that.
Sure. Go to Commissioner Fay in a second. Commissioner Barrio, if you want to digest that and decide if you want to raise the budget request, or maybe we handle the installation cost in a separate vote next month. Have a think. Commissioner Fay, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess one of the questions I had is, have we explored the idea of DDOT potentially helping to do the installation? So we're looking at, as has Bloomingdale, which is in Ward 5, having the historic district signs put on a select number of lampposts. We have to pay for those signs ourselves as the neighborhood, but DDOT will do all of the installation. That's part of kind of what their deal is. Have we reached out to DDOT to ask if that's something that they would be able to support? Because $1,700 when you're paying $2,000 for the actual sign seems like a pretty steep installation charge.
I mean, I'd support that, but that's the ANC's decision.
I have not done outreach to them yet. I know that Brian Footer and Bernard have been very involved with this. So, I think that's a good option to explore. You know, I don't want to cause undue delay for this, just since, you know, it's been in the works for a while, but I don't know. I'd be curious to hear Bernard's thoughts in terms of, you know, does that make sense? And, you know, is there any reason why we might want to just move forward with it now?
I mean, I was kind of shocked at the $1,700 price. So if we can get DDT, the agency to install these banners, and you know, we still need to have them printed, right? So it might be another month. So if they can do that in a month, that's great. Not spend $1,700. I know that $70 would be split with the other division. So yeah.
Well, how about we could potentially pass the, you know, the money for printing the banners, and then I can reach out to Brian to huddle on installing them, and then we could revisit this potentially at the next meeting.
I'm a little bit aware of the situation in which we print the banners and then we're stuck with the $2,000 bill to put them up. So maybe a motion to table the whole thing would be welcome. But in the meantime, Commissioner Sycamore, if you want to make a quick comment.
Yeah, just really quick question. I think I took this photo quite a few years back, but is this the same project? Like we had like Shaw like on the sidewalk, and is this the same type of campaign?
Yeah, that was developed by JBG, and then yeah, they had the sidewalk stuff, and then they had the banners, and the banners have kind of fallen off, you know, after years of wind abuse and stuff like that. So
yeah, okay, yeah, I was just wondering. I think that's really cute. Thank you so much. And to answer David's question, unfortunately, that my little girl passed away last year, so unfortunately, the doggy does not come with the sign anymore. But maybe next time.
All right. Commissioner Barrio, how do you feel like handling it? I think personally I would welcome a motion to table the whole thing until we have the installation cost figured out, but happy to hear other.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't have enough information right now to really give a solid answer on installation.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, again, the commission can also approve the printing cost, but I think it's a bit funny. I don't want to be stranded without an installation plan.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the installation cost is quite steep that they provided. I still think that it would be worth it for us to ultimately do it. But, you know, that is up to the committee, excuse me, commission. So
I say
yeah, could we table it and come back to it potentially?
Mr. Kennedy,
Commissioner Sycamore?
I just have a quick question. So would we be doing 500 total for both? So 250 on installation and 250 on printing, or would this be two separate things, 500 and 500?
The printing cost is, give it to us again.
$1,123.60.
And
so we're voting to vote for all of that.
Yeah, well, the original motion was that cost for the printing plus up to $500 for installation, which is the quote that we had received previously. This the same values that 1E is considering passing as well, since we're splitting the cost 50-50.
Okay, because I thought I was under the impression that we were only allowed to spend up to 500, or am I wrong on that?
Oh, you thinking of like a sponsorship rule?
Or is that just for the sponsorships?
Right.
Okay, so this is a different thing altogether.
It's a standalone instance.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Is there a motion? I don't know, Mr. Canepa, do you still want to make a comment?
I mean, I would be in favor of getting at least them getting printed. You know, I'm sure we can get other proposals to that would be lower. I know the company that gave me that quote is trying to get it lower, recognizing that JBG is one of their good clients. So I say we at least you guys approve the printing cost, and then we'll figure out like getting them. You know,
Happy to hear a motion.
I move to for ANC 1B to cover the costs of printing in the amount of $1,000 Let me pull up the exact number just to make sure it's right. $1,123.60. Yeah.
Only standalone.
Only, and not installation.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
All right, Commissioner Sycamore.
Sorry, so another question. So that total amount is our 50%. So there's another one with 1E that they are doing the exact same amount.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Printing is pricey, let me tell you, Commissioner Fay.
Yeah, and quickly, how many banners in total? And maybe it's a question of how many banners and then how many lampposts does that cover?
Yeah, I can try to go back and pull this up. I believe it was several dozen. I'm not sure, Bernard, if you have the specific number offhand.
He has his hand up.
Go ahead.
Oh, am I?
You're good.
Am I? Okay, you can hear me. So yeah, I think the total cost was what, 2,200 for 20 banners for 14 light posts. So some extras for future stock, and that's printing on 2 sides. So, and the banners are on 8th Street, Florida, and D Street. So.
Yeah.
And a small logistics question. Are you using union printers or local printers?
I think so. Brian Footer is the one that who sent it to the got the printer proposal.
Okay,
but I can check with him, of course.
Okay, the motion on the floor is to approve the printing expense only, 1,100 and change. No installation cost for now. Are there any other commissioners wishing to speak in debate?
Well, did we second this already?
Yeah, I second.
Second. Okay. Yeah, I do, if that's all right.
Yep.
I just don't understand why we're putting this down right now versus when we have everything in place. I mean, this seems like we're just voting on something right now just to have the funds there, which we already know we have the funds. So I'm just a little confused as to why we're voting on this $1,100 at this moment. That doesn't really make sense to me.
Do you mind if I respond to that?
Go ahead, 2 minutes.
Yeah, I think Commissioner Kinzig, I think it's wise just because of printing. I know it's starting to get to the summertime. I think he's trying to just get everything in order. So once we do get everything, because you never know how long it's going to take for this installation to go. So I think I understand where Mr. Canepa is coming from, whereas he just wants to have everything set and ready. And once we get all the installation and the pricing there, then he just has everything and it's ready to go. So it doesn't have to be another month or another delay, because by the time sometimes we get there, I think it'll probably be like June. And I think he's trying to catch the early spring summer crowd. If maybe I'm speaking for you, Mr.
No, that's right. That's right. I actually tried to install one of these banners myself. So I recognize why they might need a bucket truck, because getting to the top post is a little difficult. I almost fell over, but yeah, no, I think it's just, let's get this process moving. So we'll get them printed, and I'm sure that we can that installation.
You know what? You're right. I mean, considering how long it's taken us to get business cards this term, I assume that we should probably just vote on it now. You're right. Thank you.
All right.
I'm hesitant. I maintain my hesitancy. I don't plan to support this motion without knowing the full details, and I don't want to again entangle us in something has ballooning costs. Very eager to explore the DDOT possibility. I'm sure that can be done quickly. But we need to get.
I guess if we know the printing price and we can get that locked in and just go ahead and print them, then we know that price, and then we figure out like we're going to install them, right? If we print them. So then it's just a matter of like getting the best price for the installation.
Well, if we're installing them at any cost, then we could just vote on the installation budget right now, right? Authorize up to an expense of whatever you're comfortable with.
Have they gotten three bids, like a typical proposal or procurement movement? Looked at, like Commissioner Sycamore said, local areas. I mean, so has anyone negotiated with this individual who's planning on making the signs? So do we don't have a name of the place that's making the signs? We just know that Chair of 1E has been into direct discussion. Just, I don't know. Whenever I bid for anything, it doesn't matter if it's $1,000. I have get multiple bids because you do find people that can do the same work and have the same lifts can do it. So that's just again, I'd love to know where and how we're doing this process.
Sure. Mr. Canepa, do you have a direct response on the bids question?
Only one bid was sought for the printing signs from Brian Footer was in charge of that. So we can talk to him and see if we can get other bids for the printing.
Sure. Commissioner Harris, 2 minutes.
I apologize. Hopefully this wasn't already answered, but is this an even allowable expense from OANC?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, Chair Footer had submitted a request for their review.
Let's just make sure we have documentation of that on our end. But yeah, I think as long as he did it, but we should circle back with OANC if we don't have confirmation from them.
Okay, sure. Commissioner Barrio, can you make that note?
Yes.
Forward along the email. I think he already quoted it in one of his things, but we'll ask them for the full email. Commissioner Fay, 2 minutes.
Yeah, hopefully a lot less. So here's a thought, right? I am generally supportive of this idea of adding kind of bright, vibrant happiness to the area. World Pride is coming up. We're going to have a whole bunch of people, coming to Shaw and celebrating, et cetera. I think the questions that we've raised, though, around pricing and competitive bids and appropriateness and all those different things probably do need to get answered, and also being able to do a loop with DDOT. Do we really sink ourselves if we postpone this for 30 days with a really specific set of questions that we know we need to get answered and some additional information that we need to get so that we're feeling really comfortable with it?
I mean, I waited 2 years to get artwork from JBG, so I'm fine waiting 30 days.
Do I hear a motion to table the matter?
I move that we table the matter till next commission so we can get some more information as to the questions in terms of proposals and all that good stuff.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Second.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor of tabling the motion, please raise your physical hands. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All those opposed? Nope, I'm sorry. 6 in favor, assuming Commissioner Lemon-Strauss, that was in
Yeah, I was
favor.
raising my hand. I was just in a confusing way.
Okay, 6 in favor, all those opposed? 2 opposed, the motion carries. The matter is tabled to be picked up again. Commissioner Barrio, please. Sorry?
3 opposed.
3 opposed, sorry.
Good catch, Commissioner Holden. I saw that at the end with Commissioner Barry raised his hand right before he
6-3.
said it.
Thank you. Commissioner Barrio, please remain seized of the matter. I'm sure you'll write back in our email chain and we'll clarify with Commissioner Footer.
Yeah, can I just quickly clarify what the questions are so I know what to ask?
Please.
Okay, so we want to get the confirmation fully from OANC. We want to know the printer that we got the quote from. And we want
I think that we should add, like, if they're bidding it out, at least a second, typically it's 3 bids, but even if it's a second bid, that would be another question. I would also want to know that's coming definitely from a local business in DC as well, because there's plenty. That's some of the points I raised. I don't know what other commissioners' concerns might be.
I can ask about those things, definitely. I will say I do think it's important for us to focus on making this happen as fast as possible and maybe not getting too much into a prolonged procurement process since, we're just purchasing signs here. But I definitely can ask those questions and find out that information so that we know.
Oh, and I'm for it. Sorry,
Yeah,
Chair.
yeah.
I'm for it. I'm not saying, but it's being being like financially savvy with our constituents' money. I mean, and my 10% taxes I pay, and all of us that are on the call. So that's it. It's not
No, I
that
hear you.
we're
I hear
trying
you.
to delay. I do know World Pride's here. I want the area looking great, as Secretary Faye said. And the bottom line is, we're most likely going to move with it. We just have a couple questions, and that's it. Simple.
Yep. No, I totally hear you. And I will make sure to get you guys some answers.
Thank you. Let's move on. There's a transportation item. I'm sorry, actually, since Treasurer Lemon Strauss is on the line, if we don't mind, can we circle back to the QFR that needs to be approved if you're ready, Treasurer?
Yeah. Sorry to have been gapped. It's obviously some wild times here. But we're ready to approve our Q1 quarter financial report. Q1, just as a reminder, is October through December of 2024. And so sent it around last week. So I don't know if anyone has any questions or discussion topics about the quarterly financial report, but if not, I can make a motion to approve it, but I'll pause and see if anyone has any questions or things they want to discuss about the report.
Do you have it on hand to share on the screen quickly? I don't know if you're on your phone or.
Sorry, I'm on my phone. Do you mind? I sent it. It was a week ago. It was sort of right before the committee of the whole meeting.
Yeah, Treasurer Lemon Strauss, it was actually really well done, and thank you for it. Appreciate it.
Yeah, all the credit to the ANC. It uses their format, so they make it very easy. I'm telling you, the only Don, we had an email exchange about this today, but just for the broad record here, Don at the office of the ANC is just the best. Okay, yeah, thanks.
I disagree with that.
Yeah.
I don't know if
just to give you so I don't just well since we're here, the basic idea is our income is almost entirely the allotment from the city. In this particular case, we had the odd situation of a Zoom refund. So the ANC had previously paid for a Zoom license. We're now on the district Zoom license. We got a refund on that. And then our expenses are, almost all of our expenses are personnel based with consultants. And then there's some stuff around, some other sort of minor items. So pretty straightforward on the QFR for this quarter.
And a question, the allotment, this comes up all the time and I should know the answer. I apologize. The allotment, has it been reduced from standard because of our high balance?
No. There's no our balance has no impact at all on the allotment. There are situations where the allotment's reduced because we have an expense that, doesn't fully meet every standard. And so the way that the OAC deals with that is reducing our allotment, but the allotment itself is just formulaic.
Okay, and one more question from me, if you don't mind. Was this a full month of both consultants working?
No,
I'm sorry, the full quarter.
Yeah,
Because
this was not because this was this is October through December.
So we had one consultant the whole time.
That's right. Yeah, and there was some additional. There was a little bit of extra personnel expense in there, but that's right. This is only primarily one consultant.
Right. Okay. Just to help with our projections going forward. Great.
That's right. I mean, this came up earlier in the meeting, but as a general note, we are running a deficit on a whole. We also are running an enormous cash balance. so I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I think Matt had raised this earlier, but it is worth noting that we are actively, planning to draw down our balance just based on our normal spending, and that's before accounting for other things like the signs, which are good and worth doing and possible because of our overall balance.
Great. Commissioner Kenzak.
Yeah, I also think I'm seeing all the emails come in, and Commissioner Hanneran is doing an amazing job with all the placards coming in. That we do take advantage of the money we had passed a term and a half ago, or whatever, in regards to having an attorney to be working with us. That's also a way to spend down a little bit, but also give some support or more support to the cause. Thank you.
Yeah, that feels like a smart investment to me.
Just as an FYI, if we're talking about attorneys, we still, I believe, have about $20,000 left in our retainer for our attorneys. So that's why you're not seeing another cost for an ABR attorney for liquor licenses.
Understood. I just think that we're having a lot come through, and there's other matters that I'm hearing in the ZPD regarding, the arts overlay, and certain bars coming in are asking for licenses now, first for a tavern, then turns to a kitchen. So there is a lot of stuff going on that I just, I don't know, I don't see why we couldn't, because we've been at 20,000 now for at least this term, and going into the last term as well.
Well, last term, mind you, too, it was a slower period for renewals. So I think we've all noticed an uptick in the number of placards that have come into our inbox. So this is busy season for us. So it's actually a good time that we will likely see that retainer come down, and there is room, and we can always vote on as a commission to up the retainer, but there's no need at this point.
All right, do I hear a motion?
Yep. So I'd move that the commission approve the first quarter 2025 quarterly financial report.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, raise your physical hands, please. Thanks. That's 9. It is passed unanimously. Thank you very much, Treasurer Lemon Strauss, for the presentation. We can continue with Commissioner Holden on the NOI, please.
Okay, great. The first of our two transportation related resolutions for the evening. The first one, I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Cool. I can make it bigger. So the first one is a response to an NOI, notice of intent, from DDOT, which is requesting or notifying curbside changes to implement the Better Bus Network redesign. The Better Bus Network was approved in November and is slowly being, or rather swiftly being implemented over the next couple months. You might have seen they've already closed some bus stops on 16th Street as part of their consolidation. So one thing they're doing is consolidating bus stops, removing bus stops, and changing some routes. They're also changing all the numbering. So hopefully that will not be too confusing for everyone. This one specifically is in LaDroit Park. They are renaming the G2 to C91. This will kind of go from Georgetown to LaDroit Park and back. The part in LaDroit Park, and I can pull up a map in a second, or maybe I'll just do that now. The part, so on this is our little ANC. You can see they labeled some bus stops over here. So the G2 was moved a couple years ago because of construction related to DC water projects, and now is being moved back to its like kind of old route along 3rd and 4th Streets. And what they're proposing are some new bus stops to accommodate the route. You can see here at 3rd and U, 2 new bus stops. And then at 3rd and Rhode Island, on either side of Rhode Island, 2 new bus stops. And then their music playing. Am I running out of time? And then at Elm and 4th, they're removing some, this is not for bus stops, this is removing parking to accommodate the turns onto the street along the route. And they're adjusting the locations of some stop bars to allow for the turning radius, and also removing some flex posts that they had at one of the corners or 2 of the corners to help accommodate with the turns. So that's what is happening. the committee, a spirited discussion. So in the resolution, the whereas clauses just kind of state, more exactly everything I just said. Lists all the changes in these 8 bullet points. And what the ultimately the committee recommended to support the changes, with these kind of 3 additional further resolves. So the first further resolved is try to ensure that all new pavement markings and any signage related to the changes are installed at the same time. This helps to, minimize any conflicting directions. I know near me, I've had like markings for no parking areas and the signs installed at wildly different times. And then you have people parking where the sign says they shouldn't, or where the marking says they shouldn't, because one says the other thing, because it's old and they haven't installed it at the same time. So, just encouraging them to try to get it all installed at the same time for better operations. People were concerned about the removal of some of the flex posts. Typically flex posts at intersections are installed to help with like daylighting and like driver sight lines and pedestrian visibility and things like that. So people were concerned about the removal of those. So we requested that they kind of like study how to enhance daylighting at those intersections, because they were put in for a reason. And the last item is there were some community comments and just comments in general about the Better Bus Network rollout and how some people felt they didn't know about it until way late in the game. So our last bullet point is just encouraging DDOT and WMATA to meaningfully engage and conduct greater outreach with residents on future changes to bus operations, routing, and stops. We got this notice of intent not because the bus was changing, but because they had to change parking. So I think there's a requirement that they notify us and engage with us when parking is removed. I think they should do the same thing, even if there was not parking removed. So that was the last bullet point. And it was passed by the committee unanimously. Any questions? Commissioner Bay?
Yeah, really quick, just to close the loop. There were a couple of members of the Lydroit Park community who showed up to the meeting and expressed opposition. There was a lengthy discussion at the LPCA meeting this month. There was a vote taken, and the community is not opposed to the change. So I just want to clarify, when I vote in support of this resolution, it is because the community has had a chance to meet, discuss, and reach consensus. So we appreciate your addition of the language around engagement. Thank you for that. And I'll be voting in support.
Great, thank you. Any other commissioner questions or comments? If not, I guess we can go to David, who is still a panelist.
Hey, Commissioner. Sorry, I hope I'm not being too intrusive here, and that this is helpful. First thing is, I think maybe this was just you misspoke, but the notice of intent requirement is on DDOT and not WMATA. DDOT is doing it on WMATA's behalf. So actually, you can't even really say that WMATA reached out because of the parking changes, unfortunately.
Right.
But I know you know that. And then the other thing that I don't know if this was captured in the NOI, but may be helpful, or just anticipating a question that I think has come up before, which is, if this is reverting to an old routing, then why is it necessary to remove parking for bus turns? And I believe that it is because the G2 used to run on those smaller buses, which they are phasing out, and this will now be using the full-length buses.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes. So that is something that the NOI does explicitly mention.
Okay, great.
But yeah, it's like they can't source the smaller buses anymore. So they can only use the full-size buses.
We should strive for higher ridership anyway.
Yep, that's true.
That was all.
Great.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you for the context. Any other questions or comments? Otherwise, I can make a motion, or I can just make a motion now.
Move away.
I move that we pass the resolution as written from the Transportation Committee in support of the NOI 2518 CPD.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any debate? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please raise your physical hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in favor. All those opposed, raise your physical hands. Any wishing to mark abstentions? Raise your hand. 1 abstention. The motion carries. Congratulations, Commissioner Holden.
Great.
You may proceed.
So now we have a second resolution. I'll share my screen. I don't have any graphics for this one. Hold on. I just messed up Zoom. Okay. Okay, so this one. Okay, so this resolution came from one of our committee members who lives in the vicinity, Johnny Cabrera, and he noticed living in that part of the ANC near this block, he's noticed a lot of safety issues and heard from his neighbors about safety concerns on the 1300 block of Clifton Street Northwest. Specifically, cars park too close to the intersections, both on the 13th side and the 14th side of Clifton, which causes sightline issues for cars, putting pedestrians at risk, drivers can't see people crossing the street. This block is near Cardozo High School, a daycare, and a shelter. So it's a high-risk pedestrian area, or a high-traffic pedestrian area with a lot of pedestrians at risk. He stressed especially the daycare was a big concern. And in addition to the turning issues from people parking illegally in the sightlines, also expressed high vehicle speeds along the street. So the 2 actions we're asking from DDOT would be to install flex posts at the corners to prevent vehicles from parking too close. That's the recommendation we're mainly putting forth, but then in the second bullet point, the be it further resolved, we're asking for a traffic calming study more generally, kind of acknowledging that flex posts might not solve the problem. They're not the only type of treatment that might be appropriate at this location. So the committee suggested some things like speed bumps, raised crosswalks, turn wedges, or curb modifications, or other measures as appropriate to slow down vehicles and enhance pedestrian safety. So this was also passed unanimously from the committee.
Thank you. There are questions?
Commissioner Berria?
Yeah, I think I emailed about this, but I was wondering whether we could add in language about bike bypasses to potential speed bumps. I know that as a biker and other bikers that I've talked with, a lot of these speed bumps are poorly constructed. They have really large bumps that you have to go over, and then they slow you down, and they're really tended to slow down cars. So, it seems like a very solid resolution, but I was just wondering if we could add in language to, support the use of bike bypasses where possible.
Okay, yeah, potentially. I just wonder if we would add it as a separate resolved clause, or if we add it as parentheses next to speed hump, I just with parentheses next to speed hump, I guess. Potentially that.
This 1300 block, sorry, just to clarify.
The 1300 block of Clifton.
Is it sloped?
It's actually quite hilly, so I'm actually concerned that they wouldn't even put speed bumps on it.
Not gonna happen.
It probably won't, but you know, you gotta ask.
You might as well say consider installing speed bumps with bike bypasses.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite hilly, so I kind of think they won't put speed humps at all. But
Yeah, I do want to hear more from DDOT on that issue, just at some point to learn why they don't do that more often, because it just seems like it'd be a no-brainer. But you know,
Are you willing to make the change there, Commissioner Holden? Do we need to amend formally?
we do it. I'll accept a friendly amendment.
Would love it.
I'll figure that friendly. Secretary noted. Commissioner Sycamore.
Hey, thanks so much for taking this up. This is right on the line between me and Commissioner Hannerhan's SMDs. So yeah, I've heard a lot of complaints about this. When I saw this was on your agenda, I was very excited and very happy. So I just want to commend you. And I'm sorry, I'm not sure who else brought this to your attention. Was that?
One of our committee members, Johnny Cabrera.
Yes, Mr. Cabrera. Yeah, I want to commend you both for doing great work on this. Definitely something I will be supporting. So thank you again so much.
Thank you. Commissioner Kinzik.
Yeah, I would be in support if the last friendly amendment was not added, because I do disagree. I think that bikes do also hit people, and they need to slow down just as much as cars need to. I had a person that just in my SMD the other day that got hit by a bike and broke their arm. So some of these bumps might actually help all the community. And I think one of the things you mentioned was about public and human safety in terms of people walking to the corner. So I think it should be just as written. If it's not as written, then I will not be agreeing with this. But thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I don't know how to treat something that was a friendly amendment and now,
it's disputed. Yeah, we can handle it formally really quickly if you'd like. So why don't we consider it as a motion to amend from Commissioner Barrio? There's a second.
Yeah, since I'm going to treat the Commissioner Kinzik's comment as an objection to the friendly amendment. So then I would like to do it formally.
Okay, let's consider it seconded. Do we want to debate the amendment to add in the bike cutaway? I'm not even sure what the term for that is.
I looked it up. Apparently, it's a bike bypass. A
bike bypass. Okay. Anyone wanting to debate, or Commissioner Anna Barry, do you want to speak on it? Maybe.
I was just going to say, I think it's important to develop more bike-friendly infrastructure to encourage people to bike. I think that, the speed bumps can be a nuisance. They can also maybe even be a hazard sometimes. If you're maybe not paying enough attention on your bike and you hit a bump, you can fall. So there's danger to the bikers. I also think that, I definitely hear concerns about bike speeding, and I do think that is a concern for pedestrians, but I don't think that the speed bumps intended that are car sized are really the best way to address that.
Okay, Commissioner Sycamore.
Yeah, no, as also a biker myself, I mean, I haven't had much problem with any speed humps. Maybe I'm just haven't biked in the right places, but I don't really see much of a reason for it. And I don't actually foresee DDOT actually putting in the speed humps to begin with. So I think it's kind of a moot point, but that's just kind of me and my perspective. Thank you.
Sure, Commissioner Kinzik.
Yeah, I'll be quick. Also we have to forget, we can't forget it's no longer just bikes anymore. It's scooters, and they do have weight behind them. And again, it's safety for all. It's not safety just for people driving cars and human being. It's safety for everyone. So if we're going to do it, we should do it for all. If they're going to be speed bumps, people need to slow down, whether they're riding bicycles, whether they're riding scooters, or whether they're driving cars. That's it. The original amendment, or the original was put in place by Commissioner Holden. It encompassed all of that. and now we're making a friendly amendment. So then I'd like to make a friendly amendment that we could do ixnay for the cars too. I mean, like, come on, it's just
we're not treating it as a friendly amendment.
no, I know that. That's not, and that was just being. You understand my point, though. These bicycles, it's not just bicycles. Scooters are on the uprise. They go different lanes. They go different ways, and they're just as dangerous for bystanders that are at the corners as this individual who brought up the point in the committee, and that's what we need the committee for. So that's it. I just ask, to think about it. I always say, if it makes sense to me, you're going to get a yes. If it doesn't make sense, you're going to get a no. And this right now with the friendly amendment is going to be a no. It's unfortunate because I liked everything you said, Commissioner Holden. I just don't like the friendly amendment.
Commissioner Kenzik, here's a quick question. When you say scooters, do you mean like beep beep scooters, or are you talking about like the standing scooters?
Well, beep beep scooters I was thinking of, that's old school, but no, the Lyft and the Uber, the actual motor scooters that go 35, 40 miles an hour, and sometimes people have two of them on this scooter where they shouldn't, and they're going opposite ways with no helmets and looking on their phone. I mean, yeah, maybe they need to slow down. Maybe they need to get over some bumps. Maybe they'll learn then that it takes everyone in the community, not just people that drive cars, not just bicyclists, scooters, everyone. That's all.
Right.
That's
Thank you.
Commissioner Mario, just on a point of information, do you know if there is such a thing as a bike bypass that does not allow a scooter to a beep beep scooter to pass through?
I don't know. I know that, this has been done in Portland. This has been done in many other places. It's pretty common practice in a lot of places that I've been to, and from what I've read. I think that the channels can be made narrow so that it is more difficult for a large scooter to get through, especially if they're going fast. It's a pretty risky maneuver to try to shoot the gap of this speed bump.
Sure.
So I definitely I think it's important. I don't think tonight needs to be a full referendum on this for sure, because that's not the main issue at stake. The other thing I'll say is just that, there has been research done about, biking and things like that. And one of the main things that, really allows people to enjoy biking and it makes it an attractive transportation option is getting into a flow state where you can sort of continuously bike, and sort of the more obstacles that are presented to bikers, the more it takes them out of that flow state. So, I know that might sound kind of silly, but I have actually listened to a podcast about it. So, I think it's something I just
add. Commissioner Harris, final comment.
Can you just clarify, what is this amendment again?
This
So
is
the amendment was just, so on the last be it further resolved clause, we said consider installing speed humps or speed bumps officially. So the amendment was just to add in parentheses with bike bypass channels.
Okay, I think as a cyclist, I would like to see that, but I'm typically in favor of more infrastructure, but I don't have issues riding over speed bumps. And just as another FYI, Commissioner Kinsick, the scooters, at least the ones by Lyft, Lime, all of those, they have a maximum speed of 10 miles per hour. I'm not arguing with you about the danger of like scooters on sidewalks and things. Unless you have a personal scooter, then it can go faster. But the ones from the rideshare companies are at a 10 mile per hour.
He meant like proper mopeds.
Oh, like the mopeds. Oh, yeah. Those are
beep,
definitely
beep scooters.
an issue.
All right. Let's
The technical language is beep beep.
Then we still have to vote on the real thing.
Right. We're moving into voting procedure on the amendment, please. All those in favor of the amendment to add the parenthetical about the bike bypass, please raise your physical hands. 2 in favor, all those opposed, please raise your physical hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we'll count an abstention. The amendment is not adopted. I would love to call the question on the main resolution. Is that okay? Cool. All those in favor of the resolution as originally presented, please raise your physical hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 9 for 9, adopted unanimously. Congratulations again, Commissioner Holden. We can move on. Oops, that was a mute. We can move on to the zoning matter, 2 zoning matters, please, Commissioner Kenzik.
Yes, thank you, everyone. As I discussed earlier, the 922 issue that we were having, we were able to work out an agreement. I appreciate Commissioner Chauvin's support and also Patrick Nelson on this matter, and Alex from the this committee. They got together, they met with the architects. So we're going to move on past that, and due to the time, I'm going to really move on. What I like to move is for the second motion is or second movement is I move that the full commission support and accept the ZPD committee's decision and review of the applicant's requests to HBRB located for the property. For the property located at 1103 and 1105 S Street Northwest.
Is there a second?
Can I just ask a clarifying question?
We
So,
do.
sorry, what?
You need a second just to get it on the floor.
Okay, I'll second this, but can I ask a clarifying question? So just with your first item, Commissioner Kinsick, there was nothing to vote on. That was just an update.
Yeah, well, what happened, Commissioner Holden, that's a great question. Back in December, this was presented to 1B. Nothing was done with it. We have 45 days to get back to HPRB, which we did not. What they did is, with Patrick Nelson's leadership and telling me, because you're now starting as a chair and you're new with this, reach out to Mr. Walcott, which I did, and they granted us 45 extra days. But how it allots with the ZPD meeting and then our meeting we're having tonight, it's already been voted on back on the 27th of March, and it voted in the favor of everything that Commissioner Chauvin, Patrick Nelson, Alex, who lives directly behind this establishment, Commissioner Chauvin brought up a great point in the committee about how, and I could pull up the renderings if you like, but how the back of the place looked. He kept saying barn, which, when I actually got to see the rendering, it looked like it had one window and a door. And if on the opposing side of it, it didn't look good. So what they did is the architect met with us alongside the owner, who is I've never seen someone work so much with a community and be open to change because he wants to get his business open. He then looked at everything. They came to all of an agreement. And at that point, we were able to make sure everything was put in as spec with new drawings, and they were presented to the commission of the HBRB board, and they all had agreed, and everyone's in favor. So that's why we're not voting on it. Sorry to go so long.
Okay, I guess I'm not fully. So we didn't send, did the committee send recommendations to HPRB, or we didn't send any official comments?
No, well, we did. We last time when we had met for 1922, because
Is 1922 is the one that we voted on last month?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Yes.
So then there was some additional talking, and the ANC doesn't need to submit additional comments, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
The main focus was, you guys had stated, I believe it was Treasurer Aaron Lemon Strauss said he wanted the community to be more involved. And that's what we did. We made sure the community was more involved, and they all sat at the table and they all agreed. I knew we wouldn't have time before this meeting, the 3rd, because of the pushback since December and the 45-day rule, and they granted us another 45. They weren't granting us another one to this meeting. So they basically worked together as adults, and everyone came to the conclusion and agreement that what was set forth was to move forward. So at this point, they've already voted. There's nothing this commission can do at this point, but we did follow what the commission advised last, and I see there's a lot of chats popping up. So
HPRB has already voted at this point. Is that
on the 27th of March?
Okay,
That is
okay.
correct.
I'm just trying to make sure I understand the timeline.
Understood. Great question.
All right. We are now turning back to the S Street double property.
Yes, 1103 to 1105. That's correct.
Right. Motion's been seconded. Are there questions? Is there debate?
Yeah, so a question. So this is just two row houses being converted into one. It's on a residential block. That's kind of the situation.
Yes, it is on a residential block, and it's just the homeowner is looking to basically make it one home. So they're looking to put the properties basically together. What I had sent in the agenda package, I can actually, if you want, I could pull up the renderings. But what I had sent was they basically asked to have them, together, but put together the homes so they're basically one house. So it's like taking down certain walls and adding it. It wasn't really changing any variants or anything else, just really making 1103 and 1105 into one building, one home.
Okay, I don't have any other questions.
Anyone else? Are we ready to vote on this?
Oh, sorry,
Yep.
really quick question. And Commissioner Kenzik, you said that the ZPD committee voted unanimously in support of this combination.
That's a great question, and it wasn't unanimous. It was 6 yeas and 1 abstention.
Okay.
And again, I don't vote purposely. I never will unless I really have to. So yeah, it was 1 abstention, and the person abstained, I completely understood why. He's an architect, and there was a little thing that he was not even upset. He just had a concern. He's been a long established person on the committee. So he said, due to his profession, everything else, he was abstaining. But the other committee members did vote 6 yays and there were 0 nays.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Motion's been made and seconded. Let's do voting. Okay, all those in favor, put your hands up, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, adopted unanimously. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
And finally, the exciting feature, ABR. Commissioner Hanrahan, I believe you have 2 protests.
Yay. Yes, we actually have, I would like to introduce the first one. Commissioner Barrio has been working on a settlement agreement with the entity that the commission voted to protest at the last 2 commission meetings now. And we finally came to that settlement. And so I think I would like to introduce that first for a vote, if Commissioner Barrio, if that's okay with you.
Yep. Yeah, I believe I sent around the draft to everybody, so you should have received it. Yes, so I think we can.
Yes, let me bring up that. So this was largely, I think, like a win. We were able to, or Francois was really able to talk to the business owner and get them to concede a couple of less hours or shorter hours of operation on the license, I think down to 1 a.m. or 2 a.m., Francois.
Yeah, 2 a.m. on weekends, 1 a.m. I believe during the week, and then the summer garden is 12 a.m. Sunday through Wednesday, 1 a.m. on Thursday, and 2 a.m. on Friday, Saturday.
Yes, so I'm sharing the this settlement agreement here. Oops. Yes, so they've signed on to this, and I think now it comes to before the commission for a vote on what we would like to vote on this. So I would motion that we would vote to support this settlement agreement. I know it's in the moratorium zone of the Shaw moratorium area, but I think, and this is kind of coming in as a restaurant, but I think we have to kind of trust certain procedures that like APCA has with the restaurant, with the amount of food that they can serve, which is like 45%, and try to hold them to that. And we have this agreement now on paper, so I think there's a lot of wins here.
Can I just, sorry, ask a point of clarification? This item is not, it's not on the agenda, right? But this is Lounge U, right? This is the old one from a couple of times ago that now has a settlement agreement negotiated with the establishment?
Yes, yes.
Okay, got it.
I apologize for not having it on the agenda.
No, I just wanted to call that out in case anyone was following at home, right? We're kind of adding this new one to close it out, and then we'll move to the two new ones. Okay, that sounds good.
And real quick, what's the address to this location?
911 U Street.
All right, we have a motion to accept the settlement agreement. I believe it was seconded.
Discussion?
Was it seconded? I don't remember.
I don't think it was, but
I'll second it.
Thanks. All right, anyone wishing to raise questions or points of debate?
Yeah, I have a little bit. So,
ahead. 2 minutes.
I'm not sure if everyone's aware of the arts overlay and how that works. I've gotten to get more experience with it. Currently on that block, it's already at about 60 something percent. Back in, well, as Frank has taught me and brainwashed me, back in like 1989 that this came out, it was supposed to be 25% or less. Over time, with ABCA, ABRA, whatever, going back, they've allowed this. Now, this particular property is basically went in as a tavern license and was denied. And then they turned around and said they're going to make it a food establishment. But yet, when I watched the video back, several times the manager, Keenan, I believe his name is, said, oh yeah, well, our bar, I mean restaurant, several times. When we asked about the food, what kind of food would be served at this, no clue, just high-end drinks. And the reason why it wouldn't be so loud was because these high-end drinks, people couldn't afford the people that make all the noise. Well, I don't care who you are, high-end drinks or not, it's going to be a loud area. So this is the concern I have with doing this 9/11, because we're basically just saying, okay, we're opening up Pandora's box to basically say, who cares about arts overlay? Let's just throw that away and make these blocks 100% storefronts, and let people change at the last minute from a tavern to now I'm doing a restaurant, but I don't know what I'm serving. And don't worry, we're serving really high-end drinks, so it's going to keep the young population down, so they're not going to be loud at night. So to me, I mean, I think it's a loophole around the system, and I think we're just adding to that loophole by confirming this.
Can I respond to some of those concerns? So I definitely hear you, Commissioner Kenzik, and I do think it's important to keep in mind the context of everything. I will say several things. First off, the moratorium zone only applies to taverns, so it does not apply to Class C restaurants. So they are within their rights to apply for this, and the commission has limited control over whether APCA will ultimately grant or deny this. I believe the board hearing is coming up soon after this meeting. I need to check on the exact date. So, if we can't come up with a settlement agreement, then APCA is going to decide, and I think that might not be as favorable in terms of the concerns we have. The second thing is that in terms of the arts overlay, we're aware of this and we've been discussing it. They still need to get a zoning variance in order to get a certificate of occupancy that would allow them to open the business. So the settlement agreement won't resolve that, but that is a separate issue. And so we can definitely discuss that. We can work on that. We can talk with the Office of Planning about it, but that has not been resolved yet. So, I think that's a separate issue in this case. And they are allowed to apply for the zoning variance as well as for the license at the same time. And then I think the third concern in terms of noise, they've said there will be no amplified sound, which is included in the agreement. So that there won't, there could be people, but there won't be, loud music playing. There won't be an entertainment endorsement. And they will be required, like Stephen mentioned, to have 45% of their sales be food. So, hopefully that helps, answer some of the concerns. Though I do think as a commission, we'd have to discuss more about our overall position on, new businesses in the area that are serving alcohol. But I think in this case, we have a very good agreement, and it might be the best agreement we can get.
Understood. And I think that's a great reason, and I appreciate that. And you're right. I wouldn't want us to lose control of having any agreement at all. So in that case, then I would be voting in favor. But I'm glad you acknowledged the points I've made, and also you have done your best with this because it is big. I mean, I'm glad. I'm curious to see how this 45% of food holds up. But thank you for replying. Thank you.
No, of course, and those are legitimate concerns, and definitely something we're thinking about. There's going to be a lot more of this. So,
Commissioner Holden, 2 minutes at most.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought up that they would need a variance, because I think that we just need to remember that, like, if it's like has to do with uses and whether a use can go there, that's perfect for ZPD and arts overlay. Like, that's when we should be talking about arts overlay stuff. And I don't want it to get like confused in the settlement agreement process when that's looking at, one aspect of this. And then so if they're going to need a variance to even open, then that's when we can really like drill in on the arts overlay stuff. So I'm glad to know that.
Thank you, Commissioner Fay.
Ditto on Holden. That's it.
Okay, Frank. Floor is yours. Oh, nope. Hold on. All right,
Yes,
now.
thank you, commissioners and commission, for having conversation on the arts overlay, even though this is not the place, it's ZPD. However, wherever we can have it, it's long overdue, and I appreciate every moment. So thank you. I wanted to make two clarifications. One, the 45% threshold requirement of food sales. This is a private reporting procedure that goes on behind the scenes that's never available to the public. We have a de facto lounge bar operating as a restaurant. I wonder every year why they get away with it. I have no idea. It's not a foolproof, it's a very weak support to the compromises to making a better place for all to live and have fun in. So I'd love more conversation on that fact. But that's the fact, and it hurts a little, but I appreciate the effort in understanding it more. Lastly, they can, in fact, open up a bar and a restaurant, or a restaurant on the top floor, because the arts overlay only disallows operation on the ground slash first floor. So if they had a stairway all the way up to the top floor, second floor, because it's 2 floors above ground, one below, and they can conceivably open up in the basement. This is without a BZA amendment to change the use. So again, you just can't use. They'd have to open up the first floor for ground floor use. They already. So I just wanted to make those 2 points of clarification and thank everyone for continuing this conversation that I will support 100% and will be continuing to come back to the table. It's long overdue, and I appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chauvin. Anyone else? Seeing none, let's move to vote. Can you pull down the screen share, please? Just so I can see all the beautiful hands. Thank you. All those in favor of adopting the settlement agreement, please raise your physical hands. I count 9 votes in favor. Is that correct? One's hiding here. Yes, 9 adopted unanimously. Thank you all very much. Commissioner Hanrahan, carry on.
Great. We have 2 more items. These are new businesses that I've kind of drafted as recommendations to protest. The first one, I'll share screen again, is for a new application for it's at the address is at 1351 U Street Northwest. It's in Commissioner Harris's district. See, Commissioner Harris, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I don't think you got my email, but we typically do not do resolutions for protest. We do a transmittal document, so I don't think this resolution is needed. But just as an FYI, I mean, this is in my SMD. It is a new license that's opening in a formal martial or a former martial arts studio space, so the space above U Street Wine and Beer. But there's certainly some concerns. There's already concerns about noise from a few other establishments. This is also going right underneath 2 residences. So There's certainly some concerns. There's also issues with trash. So I already spoke with the committee on that, but I would definitely recommend that the ANC protest this establishment, and we'll send in the transmittal document, not the resolution.
I think we can consider that a clerical amendment if we vote to protest, huh? To reformat and send. Commissioner Holden.
Are we protesting in hopes of getting a settlement agreement or just protesting?
Well, we typically always do try to protest in hopes of reaching some sort of agreement. So that I'm already in talks with the establishment owner.
Okay, great. Yeah, I just
present on the call and offered to do a site visit to host.
Yeah, I live right next door. I'm already in talks with the establishment owner. So if anyone wants to join, more than welcome. It's right next to where I live.
Okay, yeah, I think just for voting purposes, I feel more comfortable if when we vote to protest, we have language that's kind of like vote to protest in pursuant to a settlement agreement, because there could be a scenario where we're protesting and not trying to get an agreement. I don't know how often it would happen, but it could happen.
That it can absolutely happen, and I can include in the motion. Commissioner Hanrahan, sorry, can you take this off the screen? I just want to make sure. Yeah, I can include in the motion to that will protest, but the protest will be withdrawn once a settlement agreement is reached. We probably want to be careful about anytime we word that, just because that can work against our favor, where I've had attorneys try to dismiss protest and then the ABCA board, but we can still work that in our protest that will withdraw it if and when a settlement agreement is reached.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Is my recollection correct that we did that last month? We already wrote that in once, right?
I think so. I think we did. And I know that I brought it up during our ABCR meeting this past month to include that in the recommendation. I forget what the result of that was, but I mentioned that I would likely add it, which thank you, Commissioner Holden, for that reminder.
Okay. Commissioner Kensing.
Yeah, I just want to thank Vice Chair for being a part of the ABCA as well, because of her leadership, and she's been doing this now. She's going on her 5th term, and she pretty much has stated since day one. Whatever. You've been around a long time. It's a good thing. But point is that you've always kind of stated, that it sounds more of a bad thing, the wording, but it needs to be in effect. So I agree, and I appreciate your comments there.
All right, seeing no more points, the motion is to protest. I'm sorry, can you repeat it? On the grounds of peace, order.
The grounds of peace.
Yeah, do you want me to, or wait, did you already raise the motion, Commissioner Hanrahan?
Yes, let me raise the motion now. So, and then also to give some context. So there was a vote of 4 yeas, 1 nay, and 2 abstentions from the committee, but it passed to recommend ANC 1B protest the application on the grounds of peace, order, and quiet.
Okay, so let's say so moved with permission, obviously, to make clerical reformat the thing.
Well,
in the mentions.
No. I think we need the full. If Chair, if I can just make the motion, that wasn't actually, he didn't make the motion. Can I please make the motion since this is in my SMD? I move that the ANC protest the establishment at 1351 U Street Northwest on the grounds of peace, order, and quiet, and all applicable grounds, and that the ANC will withdraw the motion if and when a settlement agreement is reached.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? 9 passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Okay, we have one more. Last final item was a substantial change. I don't know if, should I share screen again or should I just like mention it from the agenda? Mentioning it from the agenda. It is for a substantial change for a existing license for Ace Lounge, which is located at 1817 7th Street Northwest. They currently have a Class C tavern license. It's located in SMD 1B02. The application, the substantial change, which to change their operating hours, not alcohol sale hours, but operating hours, to 8 a.m. To be from 8 a.m. to 6 a.m. Sunday to Saturday. And their current operating hours are from Sunday, their the current operating hours are from, yes, oh, it's the same as the alcohol beverage sales. The current operating hours are from 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. They're Sunday through Thursday, and Friday and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 3 a.m. So this would extend it to be from 8 a.m. until 6 a.m. Every day of the week, daily. So I think Commissioner Fay submitted some testimony that was read by one of our committee members. There was some concerns regarding the general neighborhood, the vicinity, concerns of public safety in the area, that could, even though there's not alcohol sales, it could contribute to further safety concerns, or just as a place to kind of create activity that is not most wanted in the early morning hours. It's near a school and a metro station. And then we also kind of had some hesitancy about precedent for having a tavern be open that late, early into the morning in the area. It doesn't seem like most were done that. And then finally, there also is a settlement agreement on record for the establishment that would be not against that settlement agreement too. So there's a lot of things at play for this establishment. The owner was present. He did seem very kind and nice. But hopefully maybe we could work with him in a renewed settlement agreement potentially, or they would withdraw their change in license to have it be a more amendable hours of operation for the community. I would motion that we protest their license, their application for a substantial change in license on the grounds of peace, order, and quiet.
We have a second? Yeah, thank you.
I second.
Commissioner Holden, go ahead.
So the protest is only to the change. It's not to the underlying license at all. So any settlement agreement, well, I guess if we did a settlement agreement, it could redo the whole settlement agreement so that it was in compliance with the new whatever. But so any protest of this would have no impact on their existing license. I just want to make sure I understand
That's
that.
correct. That's correct. Yeah, this would just be, we're protesting their request to change their license. Yes.
Commissioner Harris.
No, it would impact because they're seeking a substantial change. It's a substantial change to their license, which is the hours. And basically this does trigger a whole protest process similar to a new license or renewal. So it could, if there is a settlement agreement in place, this could be a good time to revamp the settlement agreement. But it essentially does change the license outside of it being a tavern license. That is still intact, but in its name, substantial change, this is really changing the license. So it is triggering basically the full kind of protest process.
If we protested it, theoretically, I'm just trying to think of this. So like theoretically, a protest could take it to the board and then the board could take away the whole license. is what you're saying.
Yes, so that can happen if it gets to a full protest and then the board finds that whatever let's say the ANC protest, we take it to the full protest, the board does have the power to take away their license or implement even stricter hours. But there's also the chance that they say, okay, no, we don't find any substantial claims to this. We grant you the full extending kind of hours.
Okay. We're just trying to understand.
Yeah. So anytime there's a renewal, substantial change, new license, they're all kind of similar and it follows the same like protest like format.
Thank you, Commissioner Fay.
Yeah, I'm happy to let Commissioner Barrio go first since it's in his SMD, but otherwise I'll make my comments.
I mean, you know, I think that there are legitimate concerns about peace, order, and quiet with regards to extending hours to 6 a.m. I will say, you know, the business owner attended the meeting. It seems like a good establishment. I haven't heard complaints from people in the building itself, and so I do want to explore, you know, how we can work together on that. But yeah, I do think we want to consider 6 a.m. because from what I can tell, there's no other businesses in the area that I'm aware of that go to nearly that late, especially, you know, getting into those really early morning hours with the metro being there and other concerns. So I think we can come to a good place on this. Yeah, I'll pass it off to you, Matt.
That sounds good. So yeah, no, I think the just a couple of thoughts. One is that Commissioner Harris, it is possible that the owner of the establishment could actually just withdraw their application for a substantial change and amend their hours, right? So rather than it turning into a full-fledged protest, they might hear this protest and say, got it, right? We're not going to try to stay open till 6 a.m. and they would come back with a different proposal. So is that a potential outcome in this whole process?
Yeah, or
Okay.
what would supersede it all is they can request that in their license, but then if a settlement agreement is reached and says that they close at, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., whatever it is, then that would supersede and say that's a legally binding agreement. So even though on their license it says they can operate till 6 a.m., the settlement agreement would say until 3 a.m., and that's what would stand.
Yep, that makes sense. And so then the last thing I want to say just before we vote is agree 100% with Commissioner Barrio in terms of the inconsistency. There's nothing else that operates over there that would go until 6 a.m. That establishment is located literally at the top of the escalator steps to the metro. And when you think about folks who are going to the metro at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning at the exact same time that arguably this establishment would be able to operate until and let patrons out on the street, I just worry about how things are going to kind of fit together. And third, the T Street Task Force, continues to hammer away, but the issues are continuing, actually getting worse, and they extend essentially from Florida Avenue on the north all the way down 7th Street to Rhode Island. This is a place that is under a lot of scrutiny. I worry about putting a lot more traffic of kind of, a club essentially environment right there. So those are my points.
Seeing no further comments, let's move to vote. All those in favor of the protest as worded by Commissioner Hanrahan, please raise your hands. And 9 in favor, another unanimous. Thank you very much, everyone. Seeing nothing else on the agenda, unless someone has an extremely burning emergency, I will adjourn the meeting at 10:01. The next meeting will be on May 1st, and please plan for an in-person confab. Look forward to seeing you all there.
That'll be fun.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.